This morning I woke up, I read the news, and one of the first things I saw was a picture of Joe Biden's son, apparently, laying in bed with a crack pipe in his mouth. And I thought to myself, well, that looks like Joe Biden's son with a crack pipe in his mouth. It's going to be a very interesting day. There was a lot of news and a ton of stories about these leaked emails from this computer. Wow. Today went nuts. So here we can see evidence that suggests Joe Biden lied when he said he didn't talk to his son about his business dealings, because one of these emails shows this guy is saying, thanks for giving me the opportunity to meet and spend time with your dad, something to that effect. Now we've got mainstream media organizations arguing the email doesn't actually say that because the opportunity doesn't mean they actually met. Now you have journalists, I'm doing air quotes here, saying, do not link the story from the New York Post. Do not link it. Now that's anti-journalism. That's suppression of information and willfully making it harder for people to understand what's happening in the world. And that's what our news organizations do, anti-journalism. But the craziest thing that happened was Facebook and Twitter actively censoring not just the New York Post. I believe this may be one of the oldest newspapers in the country. It's like 218, 216 years old. But they're also suppressing links to the story. Twitter has, I believe they froze the account of the New York Post on Twitter. You can't share the story. It's got like warning labels on it. And the press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, got locked out of her account for sharing this story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Beyond a reasonable doubt that these big tech companies are actively working to cheat the election to help Joe Biden and the Democrats win. Now, I understand everyone's probably saying, we knew this, Tim. We knew this. It was obvious for a long time. I still have people on the left refusing to admit it. They probably still will. But I'll tell you what, man, when they shut down the New York Post, which has been around since I think like 1801 or something. This is not censorship of a regular conservative. This is not censorship of a guy where you're asking questions about, well, but my private platform. This is a news organization. It's journalists, the press secretary saying Joe Biden's son is corrupt and we have the evidence. Apparently, they claimed that they're blocking the information because it was hacked. But we have no evidence that's true. The information came from a hard drive that was left at a repair shop. So anyway, I don't want to get too much into this because we got a bunch of guests and we're going to talk about everything that's happening. And of course, as many of you probably already know, Jack Murphy is here with us today. You guys love Jack Murphy.
Hello, Tim. Hello, Ian.
Thanks
Hello,
for.
Lydia.
Hey, how's it going?
Of course,
Welcome.
we also have Lydia, who's producing. You guys know Lydia.
I'm over here.
And a special guest today is Captain Crossland.
Oh yeah,
who's
that's
Captain
correct.
on the bridge.
Captain
Yes,
on the bridge.
indeed.
He's wearing his Starfleet uniform.
That's
for
a
some
red
reason.
shirt, dude. It's a
Yeah.
red shirt. You
Earl
know
Command.
Grey.
Yeah, we know how
Hot.
this ends.
Red
Yes.
is command.
Red is command.
In the original Star Trek, it was
All hands
ensigns
on
who
the-
would go die.
That's exactly right. If you were in red,
Yeah.
that means you were dead.
Yeah.
I prefer my Earl Grey hot.
Uh-huh.
So by the end of this episode, you're going to get eaten by a space monster.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Okay, well, I mean, it's better than getting banned on Twitter, I guess.
That's true.
This is I'm surprised my video from today didn't get shut down.
Yeah.
So let's just jump into the story. Let me show you. I think is the most important one. We'll start with this. Check this out from the New York Post. Actually, wait. I can't believe. No, you got to smash the like button. Did you guys?
yeah,
did
yeah.
they,
Whoa,
did
hold
they,
on,
they-
yeah.
They did not smash.
Use
They
your
have not.
elbow. Use your finger.
Don't forget.
Yeah.
Subscribe, like, share this podcast if you really do want to help. We're live, chilling right now for those that are listening live. And yeah, sharing really does help. So smash, like, notifications, whatever. Let's read the news. It's from the New York Post. We're actually pulling up the New York Post. Twitter, Facebook censor post over Hunter Biden expose. I wonder if we're going to get shut off if like YouTube will pull the stream down.
Let's find out.
Let's keep reading. Both Twitter and Facebook took extraordinary censorship measures against the Post on Wednesday over its exposés about Hunter Biden's emails and leveled baseless accusations that the reports used hacked materials. The suppression effort came despite presidential candidate Joe Biden's campaign merely denying that he had anything on his official schedules about meeting a Ukrainian energy executive in 2015, along with zero claims that his son's computer had been hacked. The Post's primary Twitter account was locked as of 2:20 p.m. Wednesday because its articles about the messages obtained from Biden's laptop broke the social network's rules against, quote, distribution of hacked material, according to an email the Post received from Twitter. Twitter also blocked users from sharing the link to the Post, indicating that Hunter Biden introduced Joe Biden to the Ukrainian businessman, calling the link potentially harmful. Now that is a fat load of crap. Harmful link to the New York Post? That's a whole
Well, harmful to whom?
to Joe Biden.
Exactly right.
Yeah, we saw it was Andy Stone. He worked for the Democrats. He was on the Senate Majority PAC. He worked for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and now he works for Facebook. And he said, "We're going to suppress this. We're going to suppress this story straight up." And all these journalists are anti-journalists. Sorry, these people are depraved, man. No joke. Like utter depravity. They just want power.
It's not good enough to be a journalist. You have to be not a journalist. You have to be
it is not good enough to simply be a journalist. You must actively be anti-journalist.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
What they're doing here is they've lost the battle of ideas. They've lost the upper hand. They've lost the high ground. And what they've done is instead of trying to change people's minds and opinions and ideas, they change the rules of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a little kid slamming the table and screaming and flipping the board over and over again because you're winning in chess.
I think, Trump, whatever he posts on Twitter, people will like mirror his account sometimes. They'll make a new account, just whatever Trump tweets out, they'll tweet it out, and they've been banning those accounts.
Oh, yeah.
They leave Trump up. So it seems like they're not anti-Trump. They're just like excessively authoritarian.
They're anti-Trump, but they would ban Trump if they could, but it would cause too many problems for them.
But it's too much like hearsay, like, I'm just feeling like this is going to ban.
Trump's-
I know how it goes being an admin, a social media admin. You have total control over what you want to ban.
Yeah. Trump's tweets will get flagged, and they'll claim he's breaking the rules. Like, my favorite was when they were like, Trump needs to be banned for breaking the rules on violent or threatening posts because he threatened North Korea. And I'm like, oh, well, hold on a minute. Like, there's a difference between, I agree, Trump should chill out when threatening other countries, but he's also the president, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and if he's making a statement about the might of America versus our adversaries, can we ban that?
That's a good
Could
point.
you imagine if Twitter does do that?
What are they going to do with Trump after the presidency is over? Whether it's, hopefully not going
Have you
up,
seen-
But 4 years from now, what happens then? They just going to ban him outright after that? Or it's too much of a cash cow for them?
Have you seen the Ryan Long comedy skit he did on this? The journalists 1 month after the election, they're like all sweaty and like freaking out. Like, what do we write about? And someone's like, we can write about how Trump, no, Trump is just a guy now.
Right.
That's where we're heading.
They're doomed. Well, they'll just go back to doing what they did before, which is just regurgitating without any question or skepticism everything that the Democrats hand them to produce.
Yep.
Dude, the news in this country is
Alive and well right here, Tim Pool.
That's right.
I mean, kind of.
Correct.
Look, conservatives do very little journalism. Very little.
We gotta
They
do more.
mostly do commentary and response. They chase after the narrative put out by the left, so the left is framing everything. Now, the left has gotten so absurd with their framing that now people are starting to go, what? And the New York Post is not on the left, and they do journalism. I'm just saying there's a tendency of most of the sourcing and publishing and statements being made that are like definitive news stories. I don't mean factual. I mean like this is a news story and here's what happened. It's left bias. Absolutely left bias. And then you end up with rating agencies, Media Bias Fact Check, NewsGuard, a bunch of these websites that they base what's centrist off of establishment left-leaning media. Yeah. I want to read this line here from Twitter. They say, in line with our hacked materials policy, as well as our approach to blocking URLs, we are taking action to block any links to or images of the material in question on Twitter. A Twitter spokesperson told the Post in a statement. The company said it took the step because of the lack of authoritative reporting on where the materials included in where the materials included in the Post story originated. They said they originated from a laptop. So for those that don't know the story, you guys did you guys hear the story yet? Or?
We did. We read the story, talked about it a little bit. Let's talk about it some more, though. Maybe I missed something.
So this guy at a repair shop, somebody comes in and gives them a waterlogged computer. Doesn't work. So he copies the hard drive and then, tries to fix it. I guess he couldn't fix it. And eventually, dude never shows up. He couldn't identify Hunter Biden as the dude. The computer had Beau Biden Foundation on it. So apparently he gave a copy to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, and then he gave a copy to the feds. Apparently he gave the copy to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer a year ago. Did you hear that?
No.
I wonder if they've been sitting on it until
Yep.
what month is it?
Oh yeah.
Is it
that's right.
October?
Yeah, I'm very
It's
surprised.
October. What do you
Yeah. Huh.
So look, I'll say it straight up. Dirty politics. However, if it's true, it's true.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a picture with him laying in bed with a crack pipe in his mouth.
Theoretically, hypothetically, so it could be a weed.
It looks
pipe.
like it.
Yeah, we were debating this earlier
nah.
because it looks like there's
a
resin
crack
in the
pipe, dude.
bowl.
It's a crack pipe.
which could be just THC resin. That
It's a
could be
crack.
resin.
It's a crack.
But it also could be freebasing. And
There-
you said you smoked crack. Or
you've smoked weed out of a bowl, right?
yeah,
That's got the, what is it, choke on it?
yeah,
The shotgun.
the carb or whatever.
Carb, yeah.
Yeah. This thing
But
he's
then-
got in his mouth does not have
But then
that.
after
It
you,
does not.
it doesn't have one of
No.
those. It doesn't need
It's a
one. Though.
crack
You can
pipe.
smoke weed out of a pipe without a carb on it.
I don't look. I don't.
Look,
I,
you can.
if you're smoking crack, you're probably a connoisseur of some kind. So you're getting the right pipe.
Yeah, I would
He's
think
got the
so.
right pipe.
Like
the question I had about this too, because we were talking about this a little before, is like, isn't Hunter Biden rich? He's getting $83,000 a month from
That's
this
right.
crooked Burisma
Ballin'.
deal, and he opts for crack instead of that sweet Colombian
No,
pure.
they're from Scranton, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
They are working. They're just regular salt of the earth people. Hey, he's not above smoking crack. Just to be Joe Biden's new thing. Don't go supporting this Wall Street people, these Park Avenue people. Support me and my family. We are a salt of the earth. We are from Scranton. We are not even above smoking crack, yo.
Well, there's
Love it.
selling me on them.
so
Oh, man,
now
I
that
like
we're
it.
shifting from the very serious like death to free speech in this country.
Right, yeah. Crack pipes.
But we actually got the story. We got to follow this up. Check this out.
Oh.
Cocaine pipe and white powdery substance found in Hunter Biden's rental car in 2016 from the Washington Examiner. Say a police report said that Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, returned a rental car in Arizona that contained a cocaine pipe days before the 2016 presidential election, according to a new report. Hunter Biden's first name is Robert. Also left credit cards, driver's licenses, Delaware, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get it. Let me.
It was his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, we got this photo now. It shows Joe Biden's son with like a crack pipe in his mouth. This is not even the serious news. The serious news is that Joe Biden lied, apparently. I gotta say
Right.
apparently, we gotta be very careful here. We got a presidential election. But the email suggests that the Ukrainian businessman from Burisma, the third most powerful man, said thank you for giving me the opportunity to thank you for like bringing me to DC and giving me the opportunity to meet with your dad or whatever or something and spend time with him. It was like poor English, so it's kind of confusing. I think Bloomberg said being granted the opportunity doesn't mean he actually met.
Yeah, but have
I'm
you
like,
ever?
that's-
Thanks for the opportunity. That's what you say.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
opportunity. Appreciate it. It was great.
Right, that's weird.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
what do you mean? Thanks for the opportunity to come to your house. It's too bad we didn't do it. That's weird.
Right. I'm glad you sort of switched back to the important news because we should say one thing. Like, it's obvious Hunter Biden dealing with drug addiction. Drug addiction is very
Yeah.
serious. Many of us,
Right.
almost all of us, know somebody struggling with drug addiction. It's generally not a laughing matter. And you know what? Prayers up, Hunter Biden. Hopefully one day he can get that under control. Right. And
Yeah.
so, but what the real story? Let's not be distracted by the crack pipe.
Yeah.
The real story is possibly him peddling influence and connections with his father, getting paid to do it all along the way.
It's interesting that the story that's being blocked is specifically about this businessman meeting his dad.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting. I think the House Judiciary Judiciary GOP says Twitter has blocked users from tweeting the link to the New York Post story on Hunter Biden. So we put it on our website for you to read and share.
Love it.
And it links to the Republicans' judiciary.house.gov. And it's the story. So is Twitter now going to block a .gov? That would be very, very interesting. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be beyond them at this point.
Yeah.
So let me break down for everybody who doesn't understand what's happening here, what the seriousness of this story. It's a viral video where Joe Biden says, I wanted, I'll paraphrase, I want to get this prosecutor in Ukraine fired. So I think it was a $1 billion loan guarantee. Mm-hmm. The U.S. is going to loan Ukraine $1 billion. And so he went to the prime minister and said, if you don't fire him, you're not getting the money. And the guy says, you can't do that. Only the president can. He goes, call the president, ask him. So, and then he's like, sure enough, 6 hours later, he's like, I'm getting ready to leave. Son of a B. Guy got fired. Everyone starts laughing and clapping. The first response I had to that was because you got the right saying he's manipulating this to protect his son because his son was on the board of this company. The prosecutor was investigating that company. Then you get the left saying it's not true. The EU thought he was corrupt. They want to get rid of him as well. My response is, why is the vice president going to any country and bribing them to interfere in internal affairs for these other countries? Like that to me on its own is kind of like, that's true. I don't like that idea that the U.S. goes to foreign countries and says, we'll give you $1 billion to fire your prosecutor.
Do you think that that's a new evolution
Of
in
course
American
not.
foreign
No, of course
policy,
not.
though?
No way.
Right.
No, that's
yeah.
so my understanding is typically the way it works is we go there, we say, listen here, we're America, huh? You get rid of this prosecutor, we'll give you $1 billion. You don't take the $1 billion, maybe things get a little bad. Maybe your auntie has an accident, you know what I'm saying? And then, sure enough, you don't take the money, and then protest forms, and then...
Or you don't get that anti-aircraft, sales go through that you thought you were going to get. You can't buy the self-defense, weaponry that you thought you were going to get. You don't get the loan from the IMF or the World Bank that you thought that you were going to get. You don't get the investment in a port or an airport or whatever it is that you thought that you might get. We've been doing this kind of crap forever.
Right.
Have you read Confessions of an Economic Hitman?
Yeah, I was going to
my
mention that.
God.
There's three
Yes.
steps. The first is economic. If they don't fall for it, then you send in the people to try and assassinate the leader. And if
I thought that was the
they-
last one.
That's the second one. If you
Oh.
can't assassinate the leader, then you go to war.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that. So what was that guy like? He was like CIA or
He's
something.
great. Yeah, you read his book. Check him out on YouTube.
So,
I can't
so
remember
that's
his name though.
it works even on the individual level. The first thing anyone tries to do is bribe you. If they can give you some cash and you'll do their bidding, it's the
Easy.
easiest way to get it done. Otherwise, they're going to start pressuring you and threatening you and your family if they can't deal with you and you won't solve and the problem can't be solved. They off you.
And if they can't, then they go to war. Literally, in
Well, I mean,
certain
I just mean, like,
situations,
for an
in Iraq,
individual.
for instance, they went to war because they couldn't get Saddam.
They tried to kill him, they couldn't do
Yeah.
it. So we, the United
They,
States,
right.
marched in for no reason.
Our representatives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we the people.
So look. I understand this is a normal process. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying it's routine where the U.S. says, like, we got $1 billion. Why don't you take it and fire this guy? And they took it and they fired the guy. Here's the crazy bit about this. The guy was investigating Burisma. Now, some outlets argue he wasn't actually. There was an open investigation. It was inactive. And I'm kind of like, so you admit there's an investigation. Like, the status of the investigation is less relevant to me because it could be inactive because it went cold. I don't know. It could be inactive because the dude started cooperating or because it led them out. There's a million reasons it could be inactive.
Or $1 billion.
Yeah, infinite. I have no idea. All I know is they opened an investigation. It became inactive for some reason. Joe Biden says this guy wasn't investigating Burisma. That's why they wanted to fire him. So Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, is on the board of this company. And we believe, based on all the evidence, specifically because he's selling his father's influence. It's like you can't give Joe Biden money, but you can give Hunter money. You give Hunter that $83,000 a month contract. All of a sudden, Joe Biden's doing you favors and getting rid of that prosecutor. That's the allegation. Here's the best part. Joe Biden says this prosecutor, Victor Shokin, was not investigating this corruption at Burisma. That's why we wanted him gone. And so, son of a B, right? That's what he said. Guy got fired. Guess what? New prosecutor comes in, clears Zlochevsky of all wrongdoing.
Huh.
That's weird.
Right.
So
That's
strange.
weird.
Right.
I thought the prosecutor was supposed to be investigating him. Turns out the new prosecutor who came in, no problems. You're free to go, buddy. Zlochevsky comes back to the Ukraine, working like no big deal. Then in 2018, during the Trump administration, new charges get brought back. Zlochevsky flees to Monaco under Trump. I'm not saying there's a correlation like between Trump and this. I'm just telling you, if Joe Biden's excuse is legitimate, that he was supposed to be investigating this guy, and the new prosecutor found no wrongdoing, then Joe Biden got a prosecutor fired for not going after an innocent man. That's the official story of Joe Biden. Now, I think most of us assume Joe Biden's probably crooked, especially with these emails. And what he was really doing was cutting a favor for his son who was getting the cash. His son's getting paid. There was an email saying, thanks for introducing me. I think it was like almost a little bit less than a year later. Joe Biden flies out there, fired the guy. As soon as he got fired,
And when you say they're investigating Burisma, what were they investigating them for? Did they-
Zlochevsky.
and-
So I think his name is Mykola Zlochevsky, was the founder of Burisma. He's corrupt. He's been accused of a bunch of things. And along with the work he did, Burisma is the periphery. What Burisma was involved in is directly related to what Zlochevsky was doing. So Shokin argued that he was actually looking at the executives of this company as well because of their involvement. Why? Listen, throw that all aside. It's got to be said. Why in the ever living is Joe Biden's son, who doesn't speak Ukrainian, who has no experience in the energy sector, getting paid $83,000 a month to be on the board of this company?
Right.
Biden. That's why. His name. And in one of the stories from the New York Post, it looks like in the email, I say it looks like because I got to be very careful here. He's saying like, once people realize like our guy and what he says, our guy's coming in. The New York Post is asserting that he was using his dad, Joe Biden's visit to influence, to gain more money. Like going to these companies and saying, hey, my dad's coming. You got to pony up. We can't tell him, Joe, what to do. But, I love, Lydia, see if you can find this story.
Yeah.
It's from Politico magazine about the corruption of the Biden family. And it's from a
yeah.
few years ago about how Biden's brother, his kids have all just come into all this great money. I was having a conversation earlier today and I thought of something. I think Donald Trump's got a lot of problems. I think Joe Biden's got a lot of problems. And I said, you know what? I'd rather take the guy who's losing money trying to get reelected than take the guy who's trying to get elected to make money. You found it?
Yeah, I found it.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, snap.
Here we go, baby.
Biden Inc.
Biden Inc. Over his decades in office, middle-class Joe's family fortunes have closely tracked his political
So
career.
weird.
August 2nd, 2019. Look at that. They talk about his brother. They talk about his son purchasing a firm. You know, what's that firm they had? What was it called? Rosemont Seneca? All that magic money
Why
flying in.
else get into politics?
That's right.
Joe Biden has been in politics for 47 years.
47 years.
And he made himself very wealthy.
And his brother.
What'd you say, salt of the earth from Scranton?
Right, exactly.
Now, what's he worth now? Several $million?
How is it that he had to even pay $3 million in taxes in 2017? Like, why? Where's that income coming from, and why?
That's the name of the game, dude. You get into politics, you get the power, then you peddle that influence.
First you get the money.
Yeah, exactly. First you get the political position.
Right.
I think about, could you imagine, like, imagine this scenario. Somebody gets elected to say, like, Senate or whatever, and then gets appointed to like some administration position, maybe like Secretary of State, and they launch a nonprofit foundation.
I'm tracking.
That and it brings in hundreds of millions of dollars and donations from all of these foreign countries, while the person whose name is on the nonprofit foundation,
No one would ever do that.
Is like the
That
Secretary
wouldn't
of
happen.
State or something.
No.
What?
Could you imagine? Let me ask you though, for those that are listening, if I told you that we had a Secretary of State who also had a nonprofit that received foreign donations from a bunch of different countries, what would you think about that?
Well, we got to give it a hypothetical name, like the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a
good
good
name. Yeah,
hypothetical name. Yeah,
That's
we'll,
great.
we'll call it the Clinton Foundation. So just hypothetically, if the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, we'll hypothetically,
Sure, yeah.
ran a foundation, the Clinton Foundation, was receiving money from a bunch of foreign countries while they were the
Wow.
Secretary of State. I mean, that just reeks of corruption, doesn't it?
Dude, you go
Sounds
deep
like it
into
could be
her
funny.
involvement
Yeah.
with like Sidney Blumenthal, who has this company, Global Osprey Solutions. They wanted to set up weapons deals in Libya, and so Hillary was like, "Yeah, Sid." In her emails, came out with her stuff with Sidney, who's been advising the Clintons since the '90s. Yeah, we'll get you guys set up in Libya when we go in with our guys. Then she tells Barack, "Let's go into Libya." As the Secretary of State, sets up her buddy with weapons deals, arms contracts.
We came,
slick.
we saw, he died.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
Joe Biden supposedly
Cackling.
paid $3-some million in taxes in 2017. If you've got a good CPA or whatever, that's tens of millions of dollars that he's earning. Now, people say Trump is using the presidency to trade up financially,
Yeah,
right?
right.
To enrich
The
himself.
dude's got a golden toilet.
Right. So how is it, though, that Joe Biden makes it to the point where he's earning tens of millions of dollars to pay $3 million in taxes in 1 year? How is that not the whole time enriching himself through his political
You got
office?
to ask yourself. Now, Nancy Pelosi, her personal net worth is actually, I think, in the 8 digits, but her husband is extremely wealthy, so her married net worth is like 200 million.
Yikes.
But still, you got to ask yourself, how is that somebody runs for Congress? Their salary is what, $170K per year. Now they're millionaires.
It's book deals a lot of times and like speaking deals,
Which is exactly leveraging their political office to make
For
money.
sure. But think about this. You could write a book, and then a PAC could buy up, 10,000 copies for distribution.
I bet that never happens.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It literally does happen.
There's
It's
rooms filled with boxes full of books somewhere that
Yes,
no one ever
yep,
read.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's left and right. It's Republican and Democrat.
Yeah.
I think Trump's very, very different, though, and it's really funny to me. I saw a post from somebody, and they were like, there's no, what was Socks, the cat? Is that the cat's name?
Mm-hmm.
What was the dog's name? The Clinton head or something? I don't know.
Barney?
No, it's
That was
like,
Bush's.
they were like, there's no Fido, there's no dogs, there's no roses in the rose garden. They've been ripped out by this, like literally insulted Melania for being a foreigner. And it was like, what's happened to our country? And I'm like, is that what you were worried about this whole time? Like, there's no dog at the White House?
The roses.
The roses are gone. Is that what you were worried about? Because I was worried about the fact that we blew up like a bunch of kids in a foreign country. That was freaking me out the whole time. Like, I'm sitting there like, well, I can't, what's going on? Why are we doing this?
Robot assassins on one hand, not a dog in the yard on the other. I don't know. If the White House doesn't have crap in the lawn, is it really the White House? I'm going to go back one more time to this 2017 taxes
Yes.
thing
Yeah.
because I'm stuck on this.
Yeah, man.
He got elected at the end of 2016, Trump did. Took office at the beginning of 2017, right? And as part of taking office, he's supposed to move all his money away, not make any money, whatever. He gets paid 400 whatever grand to be the president, but he gives all that money away. So didn't we demand that he make no money in 2017? Wasn't that the demand right off the bat?
For the most
And now
part,
the guy reports he didn't make any money, so he's not paying any taxes. Like,
And they're like, aha!
How is that a story?
got you.
It's not a
But
story.
he paid tax. He paid $1 million in 2016.
Millions and millions of other kinds of taxes. It's such a ridiculous thing.
This is what's shocking to me. I think the New York Times there's a clear case for libel for Trump. That story they put out about his taxes opens with Trump only paid $750 in taxes. And then halfway down, it says Trump actually paid a total of $5.2 million, but his liability was only $750, but he did pay millions. So why, if in the beginning they said he only paid $750, the one line people read and then X'd out, but they knew that wasn't true, and later on said the total payment was actually in the millions, isn't that proving they lied and they knew they lied?
They presented a fact, one fact, without the rest of the facts, which actually are
No. It is factually untrue that Trump only paid $750. That is not correct.
Oh, I see.
Should have said
The
he owed
opening-
$750.
He was liable for $750.
Oh, there we go.
The opening line of the New York Times story said Trump paid $750.
I see.
If you actually read the story, they said Trump actually paid $1 million in 2016 and 4.2 in 2017, but after calculating his losses, was only liable for $750. Trump let the IRS hold that money for all future payments.
Right.
Meaning,
As
Trump
one
paid
does.
the IRS millions of dollars.
Yes.
And then when it turned out his liability was low because of losses, he said, just keep the money and, we'll apply it later. So Trump paid millions of dollars.
Well, I guess it's factually true. If you pay $1 million, you've also paid $750.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep.
That's
There it is.
that's the dirty tricks of the
Whoa.
anti-journalists.
Smart.
Reminds me of Rick and Morty. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh.
Where you've seen it.
I love that.
The one where Morty's in the simulation and he gets asked like, what's 9 times 8? And he's like, it's at least 45. That's right. It is at least 45. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Trump paid. You know that Trump paid $1 in taxes last year.
And
$1.
Another
That's right.
$749.
Exactly.
On top of that.
And well, after that he paid millions and millions.
Right.
But that $1.
He did, yeah.
He paid $1 and 2 and 3 and
my
4 and
gosh.
5 and 6.
It just brings me back to the same question. Dumb or diabolical? Are these people stupid, or are they really just actually
the New York Times?
evil?
Mix of both.
It really is.
Yeah,
isn't
mix
it?
of both.
Because they're looking for views and clicks, and like owed is not going to get you the hits that
Right.
paid is going to get you.
Right.
It's just
Yep.
sadly not. But that doesn't mean they did it intentionally.
So what do we do as citizens? Because this is not going to change. This is only going to get worse. As Alexander Dugan said on my podcast the other day, he said, there's no fact, there's only information.
Yeah.
So what do we are to do as individuals moving forward in this universe where we're being bombarded by things that are $750 true, $1 billion also true?
one thing you
What
can
do we do?
is acknowledge when you're wrong, at least on a personal
No,
level.
no. I mean, what do we do as the recipients of this information? How do we make sense of the
I
world?
think stuff like this, at least partly.
Yes,
like
this
Yeah,
is
talk
called
it out.
sense making. What
Yeah.
we're doing, sense
Because at
making.
least the option is voting works. And it's really funny. I was like, I wouldn't have said that in 2015 or 16. And then Donald Trump won and started laughing. I'm like, I guess voting works. Like, they're freaking out. They're like burning the house down because they hate Trump so much.
Yeah.
Clearly voting works. Go vote.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And no confrontations. Like, they're so hungry for any right winger to slip up so they can smear and say, that's it.
Don't
I think
do it.
it's hilarious when they were like, well, I can't remember what I was reading. It was about Antifa tearing down this Abraham Lincoln statue. And there was a comment saying, we know it's actually the Proud Boys. I'm like, there's no Proud Boy tearing down Abraham Lincoln, dude. That's just not happening.
Why would they?
desperate
Why
for
would the left tear down the statue of Abraham Lincoln when he was the last president to nominate a Supreme Court justice? Like in an election year. Like,
Yeah,
remember
that's right.
they had to go
Yeah.
all the way
All
back
the way
to
back to
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln to come up with some BS story about the Supreme Court nomination
No, they
in an
tear down.
election.
They tore down Abraham Lincoln because he was a president during expansion. He was an expansionist, westward expansion.
Colonialist.
Yes, and he was stealing land from the indigenous.
He was a Republican too. So
What's
think
crazy?
about-
Yeah.
I saw this progressive friend of mine posted this thread about how you can no longer call Los Angeles like LA or something.
because
Yeah,
it's like the Spanish name is.
No,
like,
the Native American. It's like Ushanga or something. Ushagna or something. I don't know.
I thought they were going to say Los Angeles is like a cultural appropriation of the Spanish phrase.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know what the actual name of LA is? It's like this ridiculously long thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No
Can you
idea.
can you pull
Yeah,
up
we
the
can look it
Wikipedia?
up. Yeah.
It's in. I didn't know this.
I don't know how you guys feel about while you're looking that up. Columbus Day, because I think Columbus was a psychopath, and we got taught
no.
a lot of like.
Bro,
Columbus
first
was
of all,
the-
you got to be
the
a
great
psychopath
guy.
to get on a boat to sail off the
Yes.
edge of the
True.
world. First
Definitely
of all.
read it. So,
And then you have to be a psychopath to manage the gang of guys that are going to be willing to do such a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Other psychopaths, yes.
Right. Exactly.
He cut me off at any time, lady, if you find what LA is.
Oh
called,
yeah,
by the
we
way.
found it. We're looking at it right now.
Yeah, I got it.
Scrolling through, yeah.
I can't pronounce this in Spanish.
Wait, why is my mic not on?
El Pueblo.
know, right?
All right, it's the actual name of LA is El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles del Rio Porciuncula.
Oh,
Porciuncula.
town of Our Lady, the
queen.
Queen of Angels of the River Porciuncula.
Oh, and Porciuncula is the native word.
I
I
no
don't
idea.
know. Yeah, I got nothing. I'm not familiar
So-
with that.
It's also.
Well, think about
dumb and
Columbus.
stupid.
I don't know how you guys feel about changing it to Indigenous Peoples Day, because like he had his two brothers, and they took, I think it was the Dominican Republic. Is that where they set up their governorship?
Yes,
and basically were
Hispaniola.
just beating people on the street. His brothers would drag women by the hair down the road and like rape them in public.
I've heard too many different stories.
Yeah,
So I just
too.
don't care. I heard that he was actually punished for the cruelty when he returned to Europe, and he got criminal charges, and I've heard a whole bunch of others. So I'm just like, man, it's what we're dealing with right now, and the reason why I find this censorship and this Biden stuff so scary. Historical revisionists. The statues are being torn down right now. This is not a joke. This is their revolution. No one is stopping them. They keep doing it. They've been doing it, and they started with Confederates, and it's so amazing how much it's like it's on purpose. They know that no one's really gonna defend Confederates. Like, dude, personally, I think the Confederate flags, you put them in the Confederate statues, you put them in a museum, we put up a plaque, we explain our history and all that stuff, make sure people remember and they can learn the history. Then they're like, okay, now we're gonna tear down Thomas Jefferson because he had slaves, and I'm like, whoa. Thomas Jefferson was a lot of things, but we cherish the good, not the bad.
Yeah.
Then they tear down George Washington. Then they tear down Hans Christian Heg, a Union soldier who died fighting to free the slaves, an abolitionist, and that was his claim to fame. That's it. He was like 30 years old. He said, we gotta abolish this. I will die to free slaves. And then he did. And they tore his statue down. Frederick Douglass gets torn down. Literally dude was a slave and then worked on the Underground Railroad and fought legislatively and physically to free the slaves. Amazing dude. They tear his statue
Here's
down.
two little stories about how this has progressed and how quickly. In 2014, they were doing some statue stuff, but it was probably like some KKK guy at the time. And I was like, where is this going to go? Are we going to be tearing down statues of Washington one day? I said this on my
Trump said
Facebook
it.
page.
Oh,
This is
wow.
like 2014. Everybody freaked out. They thought I was a maniac for it. Second thing is I went to Santa Fe a couple years ago, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was invited to speak at the University of New Mexico when I was doing a book tour for Democrat to Deplorable. It's on
book
Amazon.com,
plug.
by the way.
Excellent,
Democrat
very
to
smooth.
Deplorable. There we go. I'm a media professional. And they actually banned me as I'm flying on my way to New Mexico. So I don't actually get to speak there because there was a hubbub. So I do a tour. We go to Santa Fe. I was in Albuquerque, and we go to Santa Fe. And in the middle of the town, they have this 1869 monument. And it was questionable because it would involve like killing Indians and all kinds of stuff. And there's a plaque, and it said, like, oh, they use words like savage and rebel and whatever on this monument. It's on dispute. Tempers were high. Times have changed. We've grown and evolved, whatever. And I took a picture of it then in 2018. I was like, look, this is how we should handle disputed monuments. Right? Put a plaque next to it, explain what happened, show our progression as people, as humans, as a society. And guess what they just tore down? They tore down that very
The
freaking
obelisk.
statue
And
just like 2 days ago.
A monument to the Union soldiers.
Yeah.
They crossed out apparently the word savages or whatever.
Yeah.
And left it up as a monument to the Union soldiers who died to end slavery. Well, they tore down Abraham Lincoln, so that finally happened.
Why?
Well, the guy who
question.
literally signed the Emancipation Proclamation, he gets torn down. And Teddy Roosevelt, because they're expansionists. Teddy Roosevelt apparently said some offensive things about Native Americans.
Yeah, he killed a lot of them.
Yeah. So they tear him down. They hit him.
He was an
Teddy.
empire builder.
He was
that
kind of
Teddy.
like a Trump. People hated him, loved him, and hated him. Yeah, he was an
Polarizing.
empire builder.
Yeah.
For
a lot
sure.
of love at the time. A lot of love.
This is what scares me. It's the revisionism. It's the fake. Everything you have done is bad, and they ignore everything else. As it's like, how far back do we go? How far back do we go to figure out who gets what? Because the Native Americans fought for land too.
They
And
They
I-
fought
I'm-
each other. They were vicious
Sure.
against each other.
And I'm not and I'm not saying that anything the colonists who came to this country did was good. I'm just saying, where are we now? What can we do to make everything better? How do we make that rising tide raise all ships? Are we going to do it by burning things down and screaming? No, we're not.
No, not.
The logical conclusion of this is that we just give everything back to the trees.
Oh, okay.
No, no,
A
no.
naturalist.
Yeah, no, I like that.
I like where
think-
you're coming from.
I like it.
I don't. What came? What was the first thing on land? It wasn't trees, was it? Was it trees?
I have no idea.
Fungus,
man.
probably.
Yeah,
That's
might
my
have been.
guess.
No. Yes.
Definitely
No,
fungus.
no. I don't think so. I think trees came way after land animals. It was something else.
I have no clue.
I was reading. No, on land. I was reading something that was
Call
like. I was reading something that was like. Trees are actually millions of years younger than like some specific land critters or something.
Oh, wow.
Like there were other plants here, and the algae was oxygenifying or whatever.
Coral's an animal, which is odd. Maybe there was land coral.
Yeah.
Land- I
that's
don't know
probably
about
it.
that.
Just
Can
throwing
see
stuff
It
out
wouldn't be able to
there.
move around. You know?
But what do we give it back to? Like, how do we repair and move forward without destroying everything?
Well, you
Or-
just recognize fundamental human rights and you move forward. It's as simple as that.
Fundamental human rights. Are human rights universal? Does every human on the planet have the same human rights? Does every culture have the same notion of
that's
rights?
a different question.
Yeah.
I believe that we have been bestowed by our Creator inalienable rights.
Indeed.
They're endowed upon us. I'm actually not 100%. I'm just saying, that's basically what we said in the U.S. said in the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And the rights are granted to us not by just the fact that we exist, not by a king or a government. That's not true for other cultures.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's why they don't like us so much, is because we declared that those are universal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if they're universal, that means if you haven't adopted them, that means that you're doing it wrong.
Sorry, guys.
Like
And
human
it-
slavery.
And it puts us in a position of conflict. This is what the rest of the world thinks, right? They have their own civilizations and their own cultures and their own morals and their own idea of human values, and then they hear us saying, "Hey, ours are universal, buddy. And if you don't take them, you're in big trouble."
Did you see the Project Veritas release?
I did not.
Project Veritas just put out a video of this guy who is, I guess, a Democratic operative saying they want to get violent. They want to pull out the slicey boys, he called them. Slicey boys. You know what the slicey boys are? When you're dealing with politicians you don't like, you bring out a slicey boy?
Guillotines.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Project
Slicey
Veritas,
boy.
this guy saying it. I'm not going to pretend like this guy's the most prominent Democrat in the world, but you got Democrats saying this is our plan.
He's
He's what?
He's not. I have a kind of salient thought about this. So what was interesting to me about this most recent Project Veritas release was that this happened in Colorado, which is where I'm from. And it happened in Weld County, Colorado. So that's not interesting to most people I know, but I spent a year there. That's a farming county. There's nothing there. This isn't Fort Collins. This isn't Boulder. This isn't Denver. This is way out in the middle of nowhere. There are cows. There are oil rigs. There's nothing exciting or interesting. This isn't cosmopolitan. And to hear this coming from somewhere like Weld County, to me, is frankly terrifying.
Why?
Because it's taking root there.
Oh, and like
that troubles me.
in middle of nowhere country.
Yes, and a bunch in farmland. This is literally like cornfields and cows and
Right.
stuff.
I'll tell you what this guy was saying. He was saying that basically, if Joe Biden gets elected, they'll still riot. If Joe Biden gets elected and he won't sign the progressive policies, he said we won't let him leave his house.
I
So,
believe it.
The question
Oh, yeah.
the question that we keep hearing is,
They hate Joe Biden.
of course. But the question is, under which president will we have bad riots?
All of the above.
All of the
Yes.
above. But what's the difference between the two?
The media will go one way or the other.
Well, no, the big difference between the presidents.
Oh,
Under both presidents, we're going to have riots, right?
yes.
So what's the difference between a Trump presidency and a Biden presidency in that regard?
Trump might actually put some of them in jail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might actually put some of them in jail. Like, because
Hey,
stop it,
they did go get that guy in Portland.
That's
That's
true.
for sure.
Yeah.
What was his
Which,
name?
Rhino?
The shooter.
Rhino.
Yeah.
Rhino.
I mean,
That
they
dude-
sent the feds after him.
Yeah. And what did Trump call it? Retribution or something?
We got.
So,
That's brutal. That's too much. I don't like that.
Well, a guy pulled out a machine gun.
Right.
and started firing.
Of course. Well, so I guess the official story is that he was armed,
Yeah.
and he was armed because there's a bunch of other photos with him being armed. He was arrested before, I guess, on gun
The
charges.
report I read said that he got off 50 rounds or more before they started firing on him.
wow.
Man, I don't know. Well, so I read a report that said one witness claimed that wasn't true.
Oh,
But I'll put it this way, man.
he
If-
dead.
No. Look, if you get a guy who's got a gun charge, then he comes out later and stalks a Trump supporter and kills him, and then I hear from the cops that he had a gun, I'll be like, I mean, the dude had a tendency to have a gun. You know what I mean?
Makes sense.
I'm not
going to
doubt him on that regard.
Makes sense to me.
Yep.
The riots are coming no matter what. I have a thought about the Supreme Court packing. Same sort of similar theme here. Is maybe Biden's really had been avoiding it because he doesn't want to, and he knows that the left really, really wants him to. Right? That's
Well,
why
you
he's
heard what he
avoiding.
said.
Not like in the
He
last
said he's
day or
not
two.
a fan of court packing.
Yeah. I spent the day in the horse country today trying to get my mind out of the news, but
Dude, I go, but I talk to regular people all the time, and they tell me stuff, and I'm just like, wow, I can't. I heard some really crazy stories from the skateboarding community, and this is one of the craziest things to me because, so when I hear let me tell you a secret about skateboarders, they're nihilists. They don't care about your politics. They don't care about any of this stuff. Leave me alone. I'm gonna go skate. They're very libertarian, very anti-authoritarian, and very nihilistic. If they can live in 10 people crammed in a 1 bedroom, paying $100 a month just to get by, and they can skate every day, they're happy.
Sort of like what you got going on here.
Well, this is a crazy
Yeah, this is a weird
commune farm.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing now all these skateboarders voting for Trump. I had some amateur skateboarder. Amateur usually implies like they've got some notoriety, some hitting me up being like, amazing job, dude, you're killing it, this is amazing. And I'm like, what? Like, this dude should not be like a politically active person. It's kind of getting crazy. The amount of times I come across people who are apolitical, who like, I've been skating my whole life, man. Whenever you don't talk politics with skateboarders, they don't care. Sometimes they might be like left leaning, but they're normies. They're
Do
normies.
a kickflip.
That's the extent to which they have like public videos, like a public video series called Do a Kickflip, because it's just like there's nothing going on. It's like the 800th video I've seen called Do a Kickflip.
Yeah.
And now I got these dudes posting. There's some crazy stories. I don't know how much I can reveal because it might, a lot of these people are scared of getting canceled. But I'll tell you this, man. Some top musicians, Hollywood celebrities, and skateboarders have hit me up in the past several months telling me they're Trump train 2020. Even when I was saying like, so this is like before Trump put out a second agenda, before I was like, okay, I'm going to vote for the guy. I had people saying like, dude, you're wrong, man. Trust me. And I'm like, this is a Hollywood celebrity from like TV shows on Netflix and Amazon telling me I got to vote for Trump. And I'm like, I thought Hollywood was far left. This is crazy to me.
So I have an idea on this. It has become completely obvious that the dissidents in America are Trump supporters. The punks are Trump supporters.
Yeah, man.
The people that
Johnny Rotten, dude.
The people that do DIY media production, audio, Trump supporters. We're out there. This is something that I did when I was a kid. We did raves back then in the 90s, right? We broke into warehouses and like DJ'd and played crazy music and did a bunch of drugs. And I was a rebel. And I've always been a rebel. And I'm seeing this now. More people seeing the fact that Biden, Antifa, BLM, it's the establishment. You can't, there's no denying the fact that they are the establishment now with the corporations, the names on the streets, the backing of the government, the NBA, all of this. They are now the establishment. And good branding for Trump is to scoop up those disaffected people and be like, you're a punk. We're punks. We are insurgents,
Dude.
within the United States. And Trump is an insurgent.
Johnny Rotten.
Johnny Rotten.
You saw Johnny Rotten, right?
I did. It was sad to see him in such a state
Wow.
physically. He's
Oh, it's
like
like-
really gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, dude, with MAGA full on because he sees it, and anybody who is
So-
involved in punk politics sees it.
Let me tell you something. Okay, you guys, you know Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Sex Pistols, OG
Of course.
punk, like Johnny Rotten.
Yep.
He was the lead singer, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
And this guy came out. And he was seen wearing a MAGA shirt, and then people asked him like, "You voting for Trump?" And he's like, "Of course." And he voted for Clinton in 2016.
Wow.
He said he voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, Obama. Now he's voting Trump. And he said it's because Biden's not capable of being the president. And the economy is like, you can't ignore it. And I'm like, that's an extremely rational and normal point to be made.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, Ricky Gervais brought it up in one of his live streams, and it was really funny. He was like, oh, Johnny Rotten, like, why would Johnny Rotten wear a MAGA shirt? Apparently you can't do that. Or he said MAGA hat. He's like, well, unless you're an aging punk trying to agitate people. And I laughed at that too, because at least Ricky's got a fun attitude about it, but I think Ricky's wrong. You look, they look at Johnny Rotten, the people who are, like Ricky Gervais, who are, having a good time and still willing to have a laugh. And he thinks Johnny Rotten's just trying to make everybody angry. Then you listen to Johnny Rotten, he's like, well, the economy was really good under, Donald Trump, and I have to recognize that. And, Joe Biden just doesn't seem to have it. I'm like, that's like a normal point to be made.
Right.
That's not agitating anybody.
Exactly.
But someone posted a photo of Sid Vicious wearing a swastika t-shirt. And so he was the original singer.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think these people know what punk is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, when I grew up with punk, and I look, I'm not going to pretend to know what punk is, because apparently there's so many different punks, and everyone thinks punk
like
is this or punk.
libertarianism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Lousy punks, they ruined punk.
Exactly.
But like what I was told when I was growing up, when I was listening to punk music and I was skating, was that It was basically anti-establishment,
Mm-hmm.
anti-authoritarian. The reason that like these guys, the reason they would dye their hair, shave their like the sides of their head, make their hair look weird, and wear weird clothes was to be as offensive and shocking as possible to the squares, to the normies. So yeah, Sid Vicious would wear a swastika T-shirt because he's like he wanted you to get angry and he wanted to challenge what you would be comfortable in. He wanted to shock you to your core. That's not what punk is today. It's like been perfectly co-opted. There's this really funny cartoon of this woman wearing like a jean vest, and she's got like a purple mohawk or something, and she's like, "You're not punk unless you support Black Lives Matter." And I'm like, and then there's another funny one where it's like, you're not. It was a mockery of it. You're not punk unless your opinions align with every major multinational billion-dollar
punk.
corporation.
Exactly.
You know,
right.
real punk doesn't. It'll get banned. That's the problem with it.
Yeah.
Because like I would be swearing and wearing a shirt with the koala giving the finger right now if I could.
You probably can do that. Yeah.
I
I
think
might
you
wear
could.
the koala shirt someday.
Do it.
I mean, dude. I mean, one day that's going to be offensive what you're wearing, and then
you
they're going to go
imagine?
back in time and delete the
Once
video.
the Borg take over, then they'll see this.
They're
video.
gonna rewrite the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is going to Neuralink everybody. Then we're going to start talking about how the Borg was right in Star Trek, and then they're going to ban your shirt.
I think punk is real. It's just so dissuaded by social media. Because
I had
No, it lives on currently in social media. This is the punk spirit. This is the punk spirit right now. DIY. Challenge the facts. Challenge the establishment. Create your own narrative. Build your own space. Have your own community. F you. I'm not going to listen to you. Remember, oh my God, I'm just having flashbacks. Rage Against the Machine. It's making me so sad because thinking about them, they are now the machine. And I
Rage,
still...
no, it's rage on behalf of the machine.
Right? Oh, there you go.
That's what it is.
And I still listen to the one song over and over on my workout list. You know, F you, I won't do what you tell me. F you,
Yeah.
I won't do what you
Sure
tell
will.
me. F you, I won't do what you tell me. I mean, that's a vibe, man.
You know what the American spirit,
a mood.
a lot of it is?
It's a mood.
Yeah, man.
mood.
You tell me to do something, I do the opposite.
Yeah.
You get in my face, you demand I raise my fist, I'll flick you off.
Yep.
And that's
I'll
'cause
do the
there must
opposite.
be an insidious reason for you being the authoritarian. That
Right, what
comes
are you
from
doing?
that natural distrust for authority. Because
You know,
so
And
much
that's Trump, dude. That's why Trump says the crazy things that he does. That's why he says, I just punched the guy.
And that's why he said stand back and stand by and not stand down, is because he
Are
doesn't
you
like
saying-
people telling him what to do.
Are you saying Donald Trump is punk rock?
Definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
This guy wearing a suit,
Yes.
a businessman,
Yes.
punk rock.
He's
Okay.
punk rock,
And-
100%.
and I
To
think-
be
I think-
fair, we used to wear suits like
Yeah,
like
dress
skate-
pants, suits, long sleeve
We
button
used
up
to,
shirts with collars.
We used to go skate and we would put on suits.
And it's
Like,
not
for real.
it's
Like,
not the clothing.
We would skate wearing. We would get like thrift store suits, and we would go skate with a tie and a suit.
Sounds like Beastie Boys
because-
Sabotage era.
But you know what it was like when my friends were doing it, and when I was doing it, it was basically like skateboarding was becoming mainstream and popular, and
Yep,
so
Tony.
to be the antithesis of this was to wear a suit now.
Nice.
Because it's like MTV had a show and the dudes are wearing the same kind of clothes, and now they started marketing. You know, they started making the clothes that were like pre-ripped or pre-frayed or whatever, and so it was like my jeans were ruined because I was skating and was scraping my falling down. Then they started selling pre-ruined jeans.
Right.
We went to the thrift store, put on suits.
Right.
They started wearing.
amazing.
It was
Yeah.
fun.
I would love to see clips of that. You should
I'm-
recreate it. That'd be amazing.
I mean, that was a trend back in like
So funny.
the early 2000s with skateboarders wearing suits because it was like.
So here's the thing about punk and subcultures in general. Subcultures in general have a life cycle to them. They start off in the dark corners, then they get a little bit more popular, and then eventually the mainstream co-ops them, right? And then it takes away all of their bite, okay? And so what we're seeing now with social media and technology is there's no way to co-opt it. You're not going to be co-opted, Tim. You're not going to just get swallowed up. Your voice isn't going to get just put into the din with the rest of the establishment. Social media provides a place for dissidents to actually have a life cycle where they don't get co-opted by the mainstream. I firmly believe, and I was talking about this with a guy who's an ethnomusicologist, as a matter of fact, who studies dissident music scenes, that there isn't one right now in the United States. There isn't a dissident music scene. And that energy didn't go away. It lives on right now,
Dude.
MAGA social media.
Have you heard what like it's like the guy who started Bad Religion, I think. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was talking about like Black Lives Matter and the establishment and being punk. But they wrote a song. I think this was Bad Religion who wrote this. It was an alt-right like recruitment song.
Yeah, it was Bad Religion.
They wrote a song and it was called "The Kids Are Alt-Right" or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And when the song came out, I was hearing from these lefties that it's a punk song that's supposed to be against the alt-right, but the song's pro alt-right. Like the lyrics are like, everybody needs somebody, come join the party. And I'm like, this is not critical in any capacity. They're not insulting them. They're literally telling people it's fun, come hang out. Like, that's weird.
Because
I don't
Greg
know about
teaches
that.
at Berkeley.
Super weird.
I don't know about that. I know that the dissident energy that I grew up with, that I fostered and channeled as a teen, is living on today. I used to have a studio in my basement making music and an old Mac, doing zines and writing like little articles to hand out at parties and whatever. What am I doing today? I got a studio in my basement. I'm writing online. I'm doing Twitters and blogs.
Dude.
And like it's the same vibe, same mood. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I was
Same mood.
I was reading something interesting where it was like this teacher asked his students how many of them thought that if they were alive during slavery that they would have opposed slavery. He was like, imagine it's the era of slavery. Slavery is alive right now. How many of you would oppose it? They all raised their hand. And he says, okay, now each and every one of you, I want you to name something you've done that has gone against the establishment, has been extremely unpopular, would get you fired from your job, kicked out of school, or grounded for life. And none of them had nothing to say. And he said, during that era, slavery was the establishment acceptable norm, and those that opposed it were the fringe, anti-establishment weirdos, and the people freeing the slaves were criminals. And the slaves that were like, they were sending out people to catch them. He's like, each and every one of you following the establishment, listening to your popular music, you are doing exactly the opposite of what you think you would be doing.
Sweet. I would have been an abolitionist.
That's right.
Yeah, probably. I think it's funny because like people have tried saying that about me.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank goodness.
People try claiming that me and a bunch of other, moderate or, freedom-minded individuals would be the ones. And I'm like, it's the exact opposite.
Right.
You're the ones that are screaming in a woman's face while raising your fist. Demand she raise her fist with you.
Right.
There's no comparable movement.
Right.
Like on the right for that.
No.
You've got the creepy weirdo, white supremacist types. But you know what I realized too?
Creepy.
You know why I think there's like the left describes a very obvious group and the right doesn't? Because the right, as we describe it, is more individualist.
Right.
So you have a bunch of disparate individuals and groups that don't unify on any ideas.
Right.
The left, they're collectivists.
Right.
So they all form a hive and then agree on all of these things.
Right.
Social justice, economic policy, for the most part. You got dirtbag left and you got woke left, but
Right.
And then I guess the alt-right is kind of a woke right or something. Even though their economic policy is left. I don't know, whatever.
Dude, the alt-right
Don't know nothing about the
today
alt-right.
is different than the alt-right a decade ago. The alt-right a decade ago was like neoconservative warmongers.
There wasn't an alt-right.
I mean, it was the neocons. They
No,
were
it wasn't.
The
The
new
alt-right didn't
right,
exist.
The new conservatives. It was like
Alt-right
the
specifically means
alternative to
white
the
nationalists.
Regular
Oh, it
conservatives.
didn't though. But let's
What?
not get into that.
It didn't?
It didn't write it at first.
No, it did.
I mean,
This is a big mistake a lot of people on the new right, as they call it, make. They assumed alt-right meant alternative to the right
Yes.
when it was actually coined by white nationalists in the first place.
very
4chan.
yes, that is accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the same assumption error early part of 2015.
Yep.
I was like, all right, that sounds cool, but it's not. No, wait, delete.
Yeah, delete. Not cool at all.
Delete.
Yeah.
Not
That
cool.
was very
What is
punk
this?
of you.
Yeah.
What is this awful old ideology? Oh no, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
But the intersectional left is the same thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So then should we should kind of got off track.
Can we
with
talk
it.
about Rittenhouse for a minute? Because I think they're
Well,
not
there's-
going to
there's-
charge him.
No, there's an update on the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. He won't be charged in Illinois. Yeah, did you hear about it, Jack? Mm-hmm. You know what that means?
What's that mean?
Narrative debunked. That he crossed state lines with a gun to go to a protest.
Oh, right.
Illinois straight up said there's no evidence to suggest he had a gun in Illinois at all.
He just showed up in Wisconsin. Somebody.
He was
handed him
working. He was working
Yeah.
in Kenosha.
Yeah.
I think we, this kind of wraps up to the earlier stuff we were talking about, just with tearing the statues down, the riots, the unrest, the creepy, weird ideologies. I was actually talking to CNN reporter recently, like the other day, for quite some time. This is funny. Like,
You're in trouble.
maybe. I'm like, maybe they're actually trying to do a story and they're lying to me about like just trying to have a conversation. Maybe it's all bunk or whatever. I don't care. I'll talk to people.
Right.
And so, they were asking about what was going on and stuff. And I asked them, about Kyle Rittenhouse? Of course. And I said, do you know about the security guard in Denver? Yeah. And I was like, and you know what those two stories have in common? Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't a white supremacist. The security guard wasn't Antifa. Mm-hmm. They were normies. They were normies who came out with guns and shot people on the other side for whatever reason. I'm not trying to equivocate the morality of each incident. They're different. Yikes. But the CNN reporter actually was the one who brought up that Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't a white supremacist, saying like, yeah, and like everyone's trying to claim that Rittenhouse is like a white supremacist. No, he was a kid who came out with a gun and was like got into it with people, and then people got shot. And I'm like, exactly. And then the CNN reporter was like, that's scarier.
Right.
It's scarier that
Yeah.
it was just some regular kid who worked for as a local lifeguard who came out with a gun. That's scary. And then I was like, and that's the Denver security guard, this like Bernie bro guy. Not super, like people are trying to act like he's Antifa because I guess they want tribalist points to like make Antifa look bad. He was a Bernie bro. He was a Bernie bro, and he was very active during Occupy Wall Street. But for the past several years, he was working on a farm selling goat milk and chicken eggs or something like that. Eggs. And I saw a post about like him and his girlfriend and the things they did over the past several years. Unlicensed, got a job as a contractor, and shot a Trump supporter in the face. Now, here's the crazy thing about that Denver guy.
But had he been out in the protests before being violent or doing anything, I seem to have seen images, collages of him at a various number of events.
10 years ago.
Was that what's from 10 years
A
ago?
bunch of photos from him during Occupy Wall Street
Yeah.
in 2011, 2012. So, look, it's scarier that he was not Antifa.
Yeah.
He wasn't organized. He wasn't out with black-clad revolutionary communists and socialists. He was a Bernie bro watching leftist YouTube videos, and he went to a Trump rally and he shot a dude in the face. He went to a cop rally, a pro-police rally.
I think it's both. It's like scarier, but it's also not scarier because it sucks to see people that aren't already radicalized do stuff like that. But gang violence is terrifying too. So I think it's both. It's hard to say which would be worse.
I
They're
think
both
it's
pretty horrible.
Sure, but I think it's scarier that regular people are now being pulled in.
Yeah, but I mean that's American militia system is supposed to be American people defending themselves. I mean, I fully agree with you. It's terrifying, and it really shouldn't happen. Shouldn't's a weird word.
Random people coming out and for whatever reason being put in a situation where they have to do it or they feel they have to do it. That's scary, man. I remember talking about this stuff back in like 2017, 2018. And I had so many people say like, oh, Tim, the Proud Boys fighting with Antifa is not that big of a deal. Most people don't know or care who they are. Okay, well, now what about some random kid in Antioch, Illinois? And what about some like Bernie bro working as a security guard?
Yep.
Like, violence is there.
Regarding Rittenhouse too, I want to go into it a little bit more. So I think I don't think we've talked about it on this show yet, but the guy that was coming up after him got charged, right? So there's new charges.
Yeah, new charges.
Whoa, the guy got shot in the bicep? That guy got charged?
No, the guy who fired the first shot got charged.
Ah.
So this is from Cassandra.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always say this. I don't like the Gateway Pundit, man.
But we do like Cassandra.
But we do. But yes, we do like Cassandra Fairbanks. She does a pretty good job, and she has the charging documents.
Okay.
So the first dude, I forgot what his name is, like Joshua Zeminski or something.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah. Well, Josh, yeah.
That was his name.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just like agreeing with you.
I didn't know if it was. I don't know if I was getting his name right. Do you want to pull that
Josh
up?
something I can pull it up? Yeah.
So he fired a round into the air, triggering Kyle to turn around, and then Rosenbaum reached for his gun, and Kyle went pop, pop, pop. Dude goes down, and I think that's gonna slam dunk his self-defense case.
Yeah.
I think that the only thing he'll end up actually sitting on, for the most part, is going to be unlawful use of, like, he wasn't supposed to be carrying a weapon.
Right.
But the fact that they're charging the other dude for shooting, come on, you can't deny self-defense then.
Right.
Someone fired a gunshot, he turned around.
I was watching all those live streams live that night. And man, I felt like, of course, not there, not the same, but I felt like the energy, like people didn't know, the chaos, the shots going off, live streams, people running down the street, the whole thing. All of it rang to me self-defense as I was watching it, quote, in real time over the streams. And this poor kid's 17 years old.
Yeah.
But when people, your point is that he's a regular kid.
Yeah.
And he believed that he needed to defend private property from the mob. They had just all over the place.
They were gonna blow up the gas station,
burning down whole fields full of cars and buildings and police stations and the whole thing.
and the cops weren't stopping them.
No, nobody's stopping them.
That's why I think we're headed towards. It's not supposed to be a pessimistic thing, but calamity.
Yeah.
Because hold on, think about this.
Yeah.
You've got the social media companies actively shutting down a story that makes Joe Biden look really, really bad.
Right.
What can the right do to counter the fact that you've got people laughing in their faces, figuratively, about how they're cheating, about how they're like, there is nothing you can say that we will ever allow, and we are going to win, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. The rioters have gone out for now 135 plus days, smashing, breaking, destroying, and they're laughing, saying, we're going to keep letting them go, and there is nothing you can do to stop us. And Trump's trying, deputizing these cops in certain areas. But what worries me is, where do you think it goes? If the right keeps getting told you can't speak, and we're going to burn down your neighborhood, what do you think happens?
I think, well, on one hand, I think that what I see happening already is that people are forming their own communities, right? They're already getting together with the idea of socializing, being professional, working with, having their own media environments, their own information, their own sense-making teams, their own sort of communities to actually put up a barrier between themselves and the rest of the world. Now, that's not going to solve your legal issues or constitutional issues or whatever else. There's so many complications when you start trying to think about, a civil war. It's not going to be anything like the 1860s. It's not even going to be anything like World War II. It's going to be some weird hybrid thing of like Afghanistan, where you're here, they're everywhere, we're all everywhere. It's all happening all the time. And for me personally, I'm thinking in my mind, we need to start a new phase in American history. Resettle America. Repopulate America. There's so much land, so many places to go, so many great things to see and places to live, that we need to just have a movement to resettle America and actually just start anew. And you can do it in some places today. But if we're going to sit here and try to predict how the country comes apart, I think we can't. I think it's unpredictable.
You're right. We could set up smaller communities all over the country with magnetic transportation, super fast trains from community to community with solar powered water condensation in areas. And you could start setting up with our technology and solar power new communities.
Yes. Remember the first time I came on the show, I was all about the 90 acres for 50,000
homesteading.
50,000 person medieval town is all you need, 90 acres. So this has been on my mind. How it shakes out electorally, how it shakes out with the military. It's tribal now. It's networked. It's not geographically centered. You've got people in the cities that see it one way, people in the country. There's not gonna just be like this side of the Mississippi red, this side of the Mississippi blue. It's just not gonna happen like that.
One problem I'm having is that I'm moving states and I can't vote. I'm set up to vote in my old state, but I'm changing states right before the election, and now it's like if I vote in my old state, but I'm a resident of my new state, they might come after me. So I'm just not going to vote because it's too risky. Yikes. And that's ridiculous that I'm an American citizen and I can't vote because I moved states.
Well,
so
I think
you just away with that.
You just got to research what the legality is and make sure you do it right.
But I got to get my license. I can't wait another month and a half before I change my. I have to move forward with my life, and that's setting my voting ability down. So
you just vote where you register.
I think you should be able to vote as an American. I don't think it matters where you live on this soil.
No, I disagree with that.
Why?
Well, the
because
electoral college, for one.
Because larger, denser, wealthier populations strip the rights away from smaller.
But why does a guy in my old town represent me more than a guy in this? Like, why can't I just pick the person that represents me the most?
Because there are small areas that are impoverished and have limited resources, and if we don't have the barriers, you end up with Los Angeles and San Diego voting away the surface water rights from Tulare County, and that literally happened. So then you have a bunch of poor migrant families who one day turn their water faucet on and no water comes out. Why? Because the cities are richer and there's more people, and they won the right to take the water away. So we create jurisdictions to protect the minority. That's what this country is built upon. That's the point of partly the point of the electoral college. So yeah, it's very important that you vote based on where you are and who represents your area.
So what's up with gerrymandering, where they'll take a area that was previously functional and then they'll split it so that certain people now have control of the area?
Gerrymandering's become extremely corrupted.
Yeah, that's kind of ruined local voting.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
It's sort of like court packing at the local legislative level. But let's just carry your question out a little bit farther. I think the first thing that happens that we see is just a decreased reliance upon the federal government, right? Your corporations take more power. Your local communities take more power. Your associations begin to create more power. And then you just start thinking about the federal government less and less, unless you're the one who is like co-opted the federal government to do your bidding. But it's really, because the future is so unpredictable, what I have decided to do is to take action today and to build a community starting today. So what I'm doing is I'm building a community of men with like-minded values. Shared values is how you're going to start to create new communities based on shared values. Because one of the things that's very clear is that we don't have common values. The common values that once made us a country seem to be no longer. So we need to find people that you have common values with, and then begin to build a new civilization
You have
within.
a website regarding that too. What is that website?
Oh, right. So the Liminal Order is the organization that I'm talking about, and it's founded on our 3 core values of brotherhood, masculinity, and sovereignty. So we're very focused on building our own personal sovereignty. We have hundreds of guys around the country, even around the world at this point. And the long-term goal is to create a situation which you can socialize, work with, engage with, do service for, and just have a life with people who share your values right off the jump.
Well, one of the big issues that's like one of the biggest problems we have is tribalism.
Yes. And
So-
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the technology is feeding the tribalism now. So I have a guest coming up on my podcast tomorrow, John Robb, as a matter of fact, who is an expert on tribal warfare, insurgencies, counterinsurgencies, networked warfare, etc. And we're going to talk tomorrow about this very question, actually. And what he believes is that tribalism is on the rise because of the imagery and the empathetic triggers that we can send around to people instantaneously. So you see a video and it triggers an empathetic reaction in you, and you know that if it triggers this empathetic reaction, you're part of this tribe, and if it triggers a different reaction, you're part of that tribe. And so these images keep coming out, and they keep coming out, and they keep triggering us and triggering us. And we start to make a pattern, and we start to recognize a pattern, and then we sort according to these tribes, and they're networked. So it's like all online. And then these things are now emerging, and we see these alliances, right? So Black Lives Matter, Antifa, they're not the same, but they have an alliance right now because they have a common goal, right? And so the corporations also have a common goal, which is to diminish the power of the federal government. That's why you see the corporations, BLM, and Antifa all on the same team today, because they all have the same common goal. They have what's called network alignment. So that's the future of our politics and of our populace and our civilization, is like these tribes, which are built on empathetic triggers and reactions, and then they emerge, and then they have alignment, and then that's how you have these alliances. They're not going to last forever, but for right now, that's why you see like BLM, Antifa, corporations all together on the same side.
Where can people follow your podcast?
The podcast is Jack Murphy Live on YouTube. JackMurphyLive.com is the website. Follow me on Twitter at Jack Murphy Live. We're going live tomorrow at 11 with John Robb. I mean, John Robb is a special forces guy. He served all over the world. He wrote a book called Brave New War, where he studied tribalism and networked counterinsurgencies in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. And we're seeing that here. We're seeing it already happen here. Antifa is like ISIS, basically, in the way that they form and the way that they arrange themselves and the way they conduct themselves.
Yeah,
You see what that ex-Facebook chief said?
About what?
From the Social Dilemma. His name's Tim Kendall. He said, a threat to democracy that could lead to civil war. He's basically saying social media.
Oh, yeah.
Social media is a threat to democracy. It's tribalizing people.
Yes.
And it's factionalizing. It's going to lead, he says it could lead to a civil war.
Yes. Agreed, because it's making us arrange ourselves around worldviews that are totally incompatible with these empathetic triggers that don't relate. And then you start to think that the other people are evil.
Yeah, but you know what the crazy thing is? It's the left.
Is the left doing?
So it's really funny to have a conversation where you're like, you view the other as evil, right?
Yeah.
Because the left certainly says the same things about the right, but I kind of view it like light and dark, bizarro and normal or whatever.
Yeah.
The left is a bizarro reality.
Right.
They believe fake things like Russiagate.
Yeah.
They ignore real things like the Hunter Biden scandal. They
Correct,
believe the
right.
Hunter Biden scandal's fake, even though there's photos. So what do? They have to censor the information. Otherwise, people will realize they're in bizarro world.
This is the key takeaway from the Hunter Biden thing. Who is changing the rules of the game? That's how you know who's losing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're losing, so they have to change the rules of the game.
Every single time. Change the
debates.
election. We got to change the election.
Yep.
We're going to do mail-in voting.
Got to change the Supreme Court.
Dude, I love.
Yep.
You know why I really love the mail-in voting thing? If the Democrats just listened to Trump, they would have been way better off. Now they're in serious trouble.
Serious trouble.
The Atlantic wrote about this. Mail-in voting has a high margin of error.
Yeah.
And now the Democrats have gone all in on it,
Yeah.
and they're going to get disqualified.
So
Ridiculous.
Many. So many.
Yeah.
We're looking at people with like cognitive dissonance, and then they've formed now what's known as like the crazy alt left. These people that are like just unable to see reality when the emails are there, and you see,
Yes.
oh, the new information violates my past belief in what reality is.
It's actually, there's a really, really easy way to break this down. You want to know how you're in the real world? You can say the Klan, white supremacy, and neo-Nazis are despicable and disgusting, and so is Antifa.
There you go.
Right.
The left can't do that.
Right.
Now, they'll say things like, oh, I condemn all violence. Say Antifa. Oh, well, Antifa's a myth.
Right.
That's what Nadler said.
Why is it-
Condemn Black Lives Matter extremists. praise the good, peaceful Black Lives Matter protesters. They can't do it.
Cannot do it.
Okay, I am not advocating violence. I don't advocate violence, but the United States was formed on a violent revolution, and if we hadn't got,
We didn't start
if
the
they
fight.
hadn't gotten violent, it wouldn't have happened.
We didn't start the fight.
Well,
We ended it.
I mean, whoever started it, what
British
started
did.
a gunshot, shot heard around the world. No, that's civil war.
It was,
was
was
a
it the
ba- I thought it was
Boston
a home
Massacre?
run.
Siege
Was
of
it
a fort.
the Boston Massacre?
Boston Massacre is when it really started to tick up.
Yeah.
When the British tried seizing the weapons from the colonists.
And
But they got off,
colonists
though.
fired
John
back.
Adams.
Yeah, they did.
And then people started fighting back.
So-
So
Adams.
we're
So
listen. We're
Police brutality. People are fighting back. I mean, it's like I don't
No.
condone the behavior, but Tiananmen Square. Could the people have overthrown the Chinese Communist Party without becoming violent against them? Obviously not, because the
But
Chinese rolled in with
you're
tanks.
talking about fake news.
Yeah.
The police brutality narrative is fake.
I agree with
Fake.
you. It's different than being run by a king. It's totally different.
There are instances of police brutality. Police brutality is a very serious problem when it occurs, and these cops should be arrested. There's also a problem with cops lying to protect each other when they do commit crimes, but there is not some widespread group of like secret police who go around hunting down minorities like they've literally been saying.
Right.
There were, according to the Washington Post, tracking 13 unarmed black men who were shot and killed last year in the United States out of 375 estimated police interactions. That is a ridiculously fake narrative. When a cop shoots somebody and kills them, it should be investigated, and we should treat it very, very seriously. I'm not a big fan of the idea of qualified immunity, and I believe we need police reform. I believe we need criminal justice reform. I believe the drug war has failed.
Yes.
But to go around now saying abolish the police, dismantle the police, and we're defending ourselves because you saw fake news is not the same thing as defending yourself from the British
I'm
Empire.
not in a place where I think that we need violence to right the situation. I don't think it's that bad.
Well, I mean, look, you look at these lunatics in Michigan.
Well, hold on. I do not advocate for violence either. However, at some point you need to understand that you're in a burlap sack and you're either the mongoose or you're the king cobra, and which one of you is coming out of that sack. And that's what I'm starting to feel like is like, okay, I don't want to have a fight, but like, dude, they're not stopping. Like this thing is just keeping coming at you. It's like a zombie. What are you going to do?
This is the question I was asking before, and I said, what do you think comes next?
Yeah.
If you have Twitter and Facebook shutting down one of the oldest newspapers in the country because it proves Joe Biden is a lying, corrupt piece of human garbage because they want him to win, what happens when that lying, corrupt piece of garbage actually wins?
And then does something horribly corrupt and terrible and nasty, they're not going to report it. Obviously, they're going to hide it.
I would say,
listen,
it doesn't prove it, but it is evidence.
I'm saying if it does. Like I'm being more figurative and bombastic. So what I'm saying is, if you're on the right, and the perspective of people on the right is that it proves it. I didn't, like in my segment, I actually said, here's the argument from the left. They're arguing that opportunity doesn't mean he actually met them, but that's ridiculous. So listen, if Joe Biden said, I never talked to my son about this, and then an email comes out saying, I met your dad and I work for Burisma, sounds like he's lying, right? So media has been intervening the whole time, lying, fake news, ridiculous. Remember when ABC edited the footage of Trump to make it seem like he was throwing the fish food in?
Oh my God.
Seemingly ridiculous and innocuous things that are so
or the
insanely
paper towels or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fake. So you're being lied to. They're cheating, they're manipulating, and now they're straight up saying, you know what? The New York Post published this story, which is a huge expose, makes Biden look bad. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Because we don't know where it came from.
No,
That's
come
what their
on, dude.
argument.
They're-
That's the
please.
Twitter
That's what
argument.
they're
is
saying.
bullshit.
Because they can't confirm how they got it, they're not allowed to.
That's
show
ridiculous.
it.
That's
Well,
not true.
what Twitter said,
no.
right?
The story confirmed where they got it. They got it from the hard drive of a repairman who was given the
Wasn't
laptop.
the Twitter terms of service that if they produce a story without
It was
evidence of
hacked
where it came
information.
from?
They definitively said it was something it was not. They are lying.
Yeah.
Hands down, lying. The guy from Facebook who announced the censorship worked for the Democrats, the DCCC. And he straight up says, we're suppressing this. So I'm telling you, man, from the perspective of the right, I feel like we're sitting on a powder keg. And the only thing that can happen is that it happens.
The powder keg go boom.
No, no.
Oh.
No?
No. The only thing that can happen is that the Democrats win, they take over, a corrupt government ensues, the cronies continue enriching themselves while selling out our government and our country and our manufacturing base, and that's the end of it.
So here's why this is a really big deal. We are on the cusp of having technology that is capable of silencing all of us automatically and then doing it in a way that almost can't be stopped. And so if the wrong people get the technology. They're able to create what John Robb calls the long night. Okay, it's happening. Imagine you live in Hong Kong and you're a pro-democracy person.
Yep.
You're definitely experiencing the long night now, right? They facial recognition, track you everywhere you go, social credit scores, whatever. Those people, pro-democracy folks in Hong Kong, they're in big trouble, right? What happens if that happens here? They have control of social media. They have control of our networks, communication, technology. They can change the laws. They can implement their AI. All of a sudden, you can't do anything on the net at all, ever, period, done. Finished.
It's already happened to a lot of people.
It's half happened to me, but I fought back. Luckily, I
Look,
could.
Did Enrique tell the story about MailChimp?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Oh,
yeah.
they cancel everybody.
No. Enrique didn't have a MailChimp.
No,
He never
didn't.
had
Yeah.
one. And the leftists complained, and MailChimp claimed they banned him, but he never had an account.
Literally didn't
They
have an account.
lied
Wow.
to just say
clout.
they did it too.
For clout.
Yep.
We need
So
an
it's
alternate
Black Mirror,
system,
dude.
yeah.
We're building an alternate system. That's what the liminal order is, the alternate system. It's information militia. That's what we call it. Info militia is our job. We serve our members. We go out, we find information, we synthesize
Now
it.
the media is going to say Jack Murphy's self-proclaimed militia.
Militia.
I'm not even kidding.
Information.
Doesn't matter.
By the
It's a
way,
dirty
being,
game.
by the way,
Matters.
being in a militia is part of being in America.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
So
Which is
am I.
also what
Well,
I think
look.
hung up Trump on that. Do you disavow militias? He's like, how can you
Listen.
disavow
I'm not gonna
militias?
do that. Yeah.
These guys in Michigan, though, morons. You know why? Because they won.
Who are you talking about?
The guys in Michigan who wanted to kidnap Whitmer or whatever.
Yeah.
The court already ruled she had no power, and the AG said she's done. And if they didn't do that, that's why I'm saying violence certainly isn't the answer, and these ridiculous extrajudicial acts are not working, especially when you're winning in the courts. So, forgive me for being too pessimistic on a lot of this stuff. I think it's possible that the media is lying. We know that you said it well. Look who's changing the rules; they're losing, and maybe that's the case.
Yeah.
Maybe they're trying to maintain this facade of power, but it's really being stripped away from the inside out. And I've had so many conversations with people that are saying straight up, they're not politically active, but man, they're voting for Trump.
Yep.
I have not met anybody who said they voted for Trump who are switching. I've seen the DNC
Yeah.
people, the Trump regret people. I've never met a person in the real world who said, I voted for Trump and now I regret it.
Right.
Not once.
9 million Democrats ditched the party to vote for Trump in 2016, and not a single one is going to go back.
You wrote a book about that.
I wrote a
right?
book,
Oh, yeah,
Democrats are Deplorable. You find it on Amazon. 5-star reviews, over 100. We moving up the
Nice.
list. Sales are brisk. People want the story. You
Loving
know
it.
why they want the story? Is because it speaks to them and it talks about their transition and the experience of what it's like to become awake and to get red-pilled and to make a move that was bold. It's hard to vote for Donald Trump after you voted for the Democrats.
You know what the reality is?
Tell me the reality.
The reality is once you see the truth, you are broken out from bizarro world.
Totally.
Every single person I've talked to about how they went from Democrat to deplorable, it's a story about how they watched a video of Trump speaking or investigated something on their own.
Yep.
Brandon Strzok.
The reason why Facebook and Twitter are desperately trying to shut down this story about Hunter Biden is because it will snap you out of their bizarro world instantly.
100%.
Joe Biden said, I did not talk to my son about this.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, here's an email.
Right.
Apparently, that's not true.
Right.
And there's evidence upon evidence. They're desperately trying to contain this,
Yeah.
and they're losing.
It's a one-way street. The red pill. It's a one-way ticket, dude. It's a one-way
I
ticket,
got-
and more people it's happening to them.
I got red pilled in 2007 is when I started getting all this information about 9/11 and the war in Iraq and Afghan and all this the war military industrial complex. And I tried to go back to sleep. It was so hard to be there when no one else. I felt so alone in the world that 2009 came around and Obama got elected. I was like, I can just rest easy. Obama's going to fix it all.
Yeah.
3 years go by and chaos begins. I tried to stay asleep. 2014, Syria all of a sudden. And so that woke me back up.
Yeah.
Going into Syria was a no.
Yeah.
No, that. And then from then on, I've had to eke my way back into out of the matrix.
I saw somebody tweet this, which I've been saying for years now, but somebody tweeted it and then somebody big retweeted it. Said, look, the only poll you need is
I saw this.
that no one that voted for Trump isn't, and fewer people are voting for the Democrats. That's all you need to know.
Johnny Rotten, punk legend, voted for Hillary Clinton, voting for Trump now.
Right.
I mean, Tim Pool, milquetoast fence sitter, didn't vote for Trump in 2016, voting for Trump now.
Democrat to deplorable. I believe it all started. I'm just kidding. No, but it did. We did have a very good conversation. First time I was on here, we had a conversation first time, and I went back checked the comments afterwards, and in the comments, dude, there were like thousands of your guys saying, "Thank God Jack Murphy's asking Tim the questions we always wanted him to ask. Thank God he's saying everything we've been saying in here for years." And when I saw the one with Adam where you were finally came out, I was like, man, I dropped a couple super chats in there myself. I was just like, hell yeah, go Tim.
Well, it's the Middle East stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember earlier in the year when I was like, if he appoints Tulsi to a security advisor, Yang to an economic advisor, and gets us out of the war in Iraq, like I'll happily whistle a tune while I go in and push that button down. It's not gonna. Yang, I think, went the wrong direction.
Yeah.
He went totally establishment, and now I'm kind of disappointed because he was a voice of reason in a lot of ways. Not that I think UBI is necessarily a good idea. Tulsi Gabbard, I think, was also desperately trying to bring people together as best she could, and she couldn't. She wasn't strong enough. But getting rid of
too
Bolton,
strong. That's why they silenced her.
Yeah.
she would. But I mean, she's a progressive, and she was really trying to speak to conservatives and Trump voters and everything, and she had some conservative endorsements too. But I think Trump's got to do something on the war on drugs. Criminal justice reform was good.
Yeah.
But the Middle Eastern peace deals, dude. I remember when North Korea happened with Trump, and I was welling up, man. I was feeling that emotion deep inside me, because I don't think people realize what it means that Trump crossed the DMZ into North Korea.
Right.
It means the North Korean soldiers tried grabbing South Korean soldiers and pulling them over to like take them away. And Trump willingly walked into North Korea with no security at all. With Kim, they smiled, shook hands, and then they walked back together. And I was like,
Baller.
Yeah.
could be the end of the and now there's murmurs that they're desperately trying to figure out a way to end the actual conflict. I don't know if it can happen.
Yeah. But when you're speaking of the Middle East, what's happening in the Middle East is a fantastic thing to talk about. I just had Dave Boy on, a Middle East specialist, and he was telling me that what's happened in the Middle East is a rise of a new nationalism. Okay, like these Arab states, they're nationalist states. They want to take care of themselves. They want to do what's right for them and their people, and because of that, it's the dismantling of the globalist sort of empire. Right. And then in America, that's what we're fighting against, too. People on the right, most people are nationalists or at least anti-globalists. Right. And we want to just have a sense of taking care of ourselves, doing things that make sense for us in the world today. And so when you see this happening in the Middle East, it's very similar. And it's going to strengthen Israel. It's going to strengthen Saudi Arabia. It's going to strengthen United Arab Emirates. It's incredible.
I hear you. But it's not even national or globalist. It's authoritarianism. Mm-hmm. I have zero problem if we created some kind of one world government or society, so long as it was built upon our ideals. Yeah. Free speech, constitutional rights, human rights, and then everybody, had those equal rights. I'd be totally fine with it.
Something like a federation.
Now, yes.
With a prime directive.
So I'll put it this way. Imagine there is a one world government, but like the states, the U.S. is sovereign in its own internal laws and decision making, and the international laws govern between countries.
We tried doing that. We do that right now. We have
Exactly.
we have all these supranational organizations that make rules and things that are non-democratically enacted, and that's what they don't like in the EU.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is the authoritarian imposition of these rules.
Yeah.
If we had a liberty-based system of international cooperation and agreement, but individuals were guaranteed their rights, what's the problem?
I love you, Tim, but this is part of your transition still, I think.
Yeah.
Be totally nice about it. I mean, at the end of the day, what we've seen is that unless you make the American people the priority of the government that governs the American people, then the American people get screwed.
I'm not saying not to do that.
I know, but in that circumstance, you're trying to take care of people in this place and that place and be everybody all happy.
I'm not saying that.
But you would say the Ohio
I'm
people
saying if we have look at the laws of the states.
Yeah.
We have a federal government.
Yeah.
The federal government isn't particular. I mean, it's decently strong, but Trump can't intervene in these states where riots are going on. That's local rules.
Yeah.
So these states have their own jurisdiction and their own laws, and they can work for the citizens of their states. They just don't want to. So I think we can have international cooperation and agreements, but they're not being done right. They're being done by authoritarians who want to enrich themselves.
You wouldn't even have to have a global president. I think the idea of a president's passe. We would have like a council of however many, 12 to 30 people or something.
Well, we have the
with
UN.
artificial intelligences that advise them, and we would have something like a democratically elected body of people.
These are great ideas. However, I will tell you that the trends that I've identified and people I talk to identified is that this era of expanding is done. This era of indiscriminate expansion, which we've seen, is done. Social media expansion, NATO expansion, World Trade Organization expansion, UN expansion, all that finished. And what we're seeing now is strategic disconnection. And we see in that social distancing, we see that in social media, erecting barriers between yourself and the network. We're seeing that among nation states, and we're seeing among tribes. So like this expansion era, done.
So here's a question.
Disconnection era.
So here's a question then. What happens when one country burns through its resources and is desperate need for more?
Well, I guess we'll have to deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But if you're saying that they're coming after my resources, then we definitely have to defend mine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So war breaks out.
Yeah.
I think that the one of the arguments that these like internationalist organizations have made is that all these free trade agreements will prevent war. I actually don't think that's true. I think it causes destabilization. I think there's a way you can come about making sure it is seriously challenging.
This is a phrase they used to have. I mean, like I said before, I went to Georgetown School of Foreign Service, and I've studied international affairs and international economics. And what they call that is the embrace of death. And what they mean by that is, let us embrace you. We'll trade with you. We'll give you our culture and stuff. And then hopefully that'll kill your authoritarian impulses. It'll kill all of your human rights violations. It does not work. Does not work. We trade with China. It's not preventing a conflict with China. In fact, what we've done is completely enrich them. They are a mercantilist nation who are out there trying to collect as much money and assets as possible. And here we are just with our deficit, just sending them assets.
It's probably both, because we've been able to unify with Mexico and Canada in a way that wasn't in the past.
Well, Trump actually fixed that.
I think,
the
language
NAFTA
fixed
bad.
it in a lot of ways too, being able to communicate. But I think the neural net, speaking of communication, is actually going to push things towards expansion.
So the Borg.
Yeah, well,
there will be no war if
like
everyone's working for the collective.
It doesn't have
unless
to be
you
like
decide
the
not to
Borg,
work for the collective.
But that we're breaking down into tribes, I don't think is actually going to continue. It does seem like we're kind of, imploding or
tribalizing.
Yeah, we're tribalizing.
Yeah.
But with this neural net and the internet, we're so connected. Every human.
I don't think so. I think what's happened with Twitter and Facebook and YouTube is that people can now express their opinions on grand scales, revealing which tribe they were in or what ideas they held.
Yes.
Normally, the guy sitting in his kitchen would be watching CNN and he'd go, this guy's a moron. But who would he tell? Nobody.
Right.
So imagine this. If we all got Neuralink, Elon Musk's brain connection thing, and then clicked in to this like internet where you can just think and see what people are thinking, whatever they decide to put out, it would be Twitter on crack.
Yeah.
It would be like you'd immediately know everyone you hate.
Yep.
You'd learn all of these things you hate about them. Twitter, it's like you could be friends with somebody, 10 years like before Twitter, and you'd hang out because of your shared interests. Dude, you want to go to the game? Then one day, Twitter comes out. Now that person says, you know what I can't stand? Pepperoni pizza. And you're like, whoa, pepperoni pizza is my thing.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're like, bro, are you an anti-pepperoni pizza guy? You're into pepperoni? Dude, and they start fighting. And
do you think tribalism is the natural order
State
of humanity?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, so I got a couple of things to say here. Game A is the way that we've organized our societies in the beginning. Small tribes, 30, 150, 200 people. And we've now extrapolated that societal arrangement to where we are today. That's why it's not working. Okay. And the second thing is when you talk about social media being the thing that's going to kill us, basically, civil war, whatever, the reason is because it breaks down social cohesion. So we use narratives. The reason why we are in tribes is because we have shared imagined stories, shared imagined orders that we believe in and we belong to. And I know in your imagination, we agree, right? And when there's only one person telling you what that story is, it's very easy to have cohesion. So when Walter Cronkite is up there just talking to the entire nation at night, everybody's watching him, he can tell you the story. We all believe it or maybe not, but at least we have a social cohesion around that story. We had one to many. Now we have many to many. Right? We have everybody talking. We have every story possible, every narrative possible. And so people are finding the narrative that fits best with them and their physical makeup, chemical makeup, history, genes, culture, whatever story works with them. And so now you've got in your imagined order, your brain, you are now in a tribe with a guy that believes that same story. And so what happens when there's more than one story? There's 1,000 stories. There's 1,000,000 stories. So now we have 1,000 or 1,000,000 imagined orders. And therefore now we have 1,000,000,000 tribes. So it's a language control thing. It's a mental image thing. It's a imagined order in your brain. Now it can be anyone out there, if you just find the one that feels right, that just fits with
And
you.
this is why they create like fears of like aliens have come or there's an asteroid. They'll try and scare the human race into believing in one great thing because fear is an easy way to create a narrative.
I mean, it would
Rallying
be
everybody
unifying.
around a cause.
Yeah, it would definitely be uniting if we had a common enemy like that.
I was so surprised with the pandemic that people didn't unite more.
There was a brief moment.
Yeah.
There was a brief moment in March where it almost felt like that, where the
Yeah.
pandemic was going to be the thing that like brought us together. But it turned out there was so much lies and misinformation, control, and whatever else that it just, by April, that was done.
I got an idea. What if we work together to stage a fake alien invasion?
We can't talk about it.
You already
on
let the
air.
cat out of the
Come on,
bag.
man.
Giant squid aliens.
I'm
and
in.
then-
Let's
and
do
then,
it.
You know,
Let's do it.
we'll put it on TV, and then it'll end all war and
I think,
conflict.
Yeah.
what's his name did that? The War of the Worlds?
Yeah,
Ozzy
H.G.
Oh, yeah,
Wells.
that didn't go well,
Yeah.
did it?
Yeah, great radio broadcast from the 30s, I think it was.
Yes.
I was
Right. The
referring to
next show,
Watchmen.
dude. The next show, we just
There's aliens.
live. We just play it live, straight,
Yeah.
totally straight, 8 p.m.
And we'll have the cameras go out. Oh no, what's happening? Oh, aliens! Oh, we're being
aliens,
attacked by.
oh,
Oh no! Oh, Jack! Oh, they're abducting him.
I mean,
oh,
the crazy
heavens.
thing is there could be aliens and we could be in trouble. So we should probably live like that. There could be an asteroid that could smash into Earth and destroy it
should
if
not
we're
live
not
like
aware of
jerks.
it. So we should live like that.
Yeah, but your solution to the asteroid problem is a giant microwave cannon.
No.
I'm talking infrared lasers.
You
You're
need to-
wrong. You have no idea what you're talking
Spray
about.
water into the atmosphere as a sphere around the Earth and then charge it with
Yeah.
an electrical current so it deflects the asteroid.
No, because the energy would still transfer into the particles and then push Earth out of its orbit. You're so dumb.
Gotta
Ian.
move it faster, Tim.
I'm
Can-
looking
listen,
forward to
Lydia,
the
help me.
future.
Jack, can you believe this this
This
moisturist?
guy, look at his
Take
shirt. He's
away
wearing
his social
black shirt.
media immediately.
These moisturists are dangerous.
Do not link to the moisturists. Delete
I'm
every
not
URL.
moisturous.
Interview them. He totally is. Look at
I'm
his cup. Look at
anti-moisturist.
his
I'm
cup.
starting a new group.
Right? But
You
this-
know,
but this
I
is
heard
it.
moisturists, Nazis.
Definitely.
shit.
Definitely. Do you know what? Oh, I was going to do it.
You know who
but-
else
but
wanted to
someone's
put a
gonna-
military base on the moon?
Nazis.
Tim.
Nazis. You know that OK symbol that people think is white supremacy?
That
I'm
Nazi
not
symbol?
going to make it right now.
Don't do
But
it.
if you think about it, it's a W for water.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
You have
we
just
figured it
definitively
out.
proved
you
Ian.
just called me out.
Moisturists are not.
No, listen. You guys ever watch The Fairly Odd Parents?
No.
Negative.
No.
They had one of the best episodes. To break this down. Listen. Everybody knows. No, listen. I am going to
We're
educate
listening.
you
Okay.
on important cartoons.
We got this.
The Fairly Odd Parents is about Timmy Turner, who has
Yeah.
2 fairies who grant him wishes. So he wants a world where everyone's the same because he doesn't want to be made fun of anymore. So everybody turns into a blob. And somehow they still find a way to form tribes and insult each other when they have no characteristics.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty good episode.
Interesting.
For a kids show.
Interesting. It is the natural state of affairs to have affinity groups, to have people that you like more than other people, and people that you're committed to working with, and that you believe the same thing. It's common.
And that, is that because in our historical DNA is
Yes.
because it protected us from
it is what actually helped us. If you read *Sapiens*, which is not entirely the best book in the world, but this is a very
Interesting
key point. It is what has allowed us to evolve to this point, is our ability to organize around a shared, imagined order, something that's in our brains. So it's not only just in our history; it's actually fundamental to our evolution to where we are to this point today. There's no getting rid of it.
the myth. They call it the myth.
Of what?
Whatever you believe is the shared ideal. They
Oh,
call it
yeah.
a myth. So
Yeah.
like religion or mathematics.
Or the
know.
wage gap.
Yes,
Yeah.
or the wage gap.
Exactly.
So
By the way, I write a lot about shared imagined orders and the fundamental myths of the left in my book, Democrat to Deplorable, on
Snap.
Amazon.
Oh, look at that.
On
That was smooth.
have you done a
Amazon.
book
That.
on tape with that?
I have, as a matter of fact, and my Audible release is going to be as soon as they approve it. It's been uploaded. Audiobook is forthcoming any minute. Check my Twitter feed, Jack Murphy Live.
Oh, cool.
Go subscribe to my YouTube page. You guys are watching this on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, go subscribe.
Oh,
Jack
snap.
Murphy Live. We're going live tomorrow at 11
Did
a.m.
you
with John
narrate it?
Robb. I did not
I'm
actually.
not listening then.
I did
I
not.
want to show you this meme I saw earlier that made me laugh.
Show me
Tim found a
memes.
meme.
So it's a it's a busty woman saying sexual preference is offensive and outdated, and then this scraggly old depressed looking thing saying healthcare please.
You have to explain this meme to me.
Yes.
What?
You have to explain it to me.
What do you mean?
I didn't understand it when I first saw it.
You don't understand this meme? Oh, so Amy Coney Barrett said that she would never discriminate against someone based on their sexual preference, and all of a sudden the media erupted saying, "How dare you say sexual preference? That's offensive, implying it's a choice." And like me, I've asked a bunch of my friends, "Did you know this?" They said, "No, I had no idea." It's because it's not true.
Right.
So anyway, this meme is pointing out that the media is having a collective fit over the fact that Amy Coney Barrett said something totally irrelevant, and all anybody is asking for is a conversation on healthcare.
Right.
And it's like a leftist meme, okay,
Right,
where
right.
they're like, we want Medicare for all, we want healthcare, but I'm like, we're not even starting there. You said healthcare? I agree. We need to figure out healthcare, and they're too busy asking Amy Coney Barrett about her stupid words. That's what the media is giving us.
Well, you want to know what's even scarier about that is the definition of preference, according to Webster last week, involved
changed.
sexual preference. And then they changed it after that
changed.
question
Dude.
to
In
say,
real time.
this is offensive, you can't use it anymore.
Wait, so if I prefer a silver computer to a green computer, that first of all, I'm not choosing. Well, I'm not
It's not
choosing
choice.
to prefer that.
Right.
I just
They're
like
lying.
the silver one.
But you can be gender
Jack.
fluid and or non-binary.
Well,
That's
but those individuals are different. Jack, let me tell you something.
Tell me, Tim.
You know what the appropriate phrase is?
No, tell me.
Sexual orientation.
There you go.
And do you know why that's racist?
Because
snap.
I don't know. Let me think. The Asians.
You see my tweet?
I did.
Orientation. The word. Hold on.
Gave it away.
The word orientation.
think it.
So when I heard someone told me this, like this is really interesting. Somebody said that sexual preference is offensive. So I tweeted this person like, what's the appropriate way to say it? They said sexual orientation. I immediately saw orient and I was like,
Wait
I
a
wonder what the root of this word is. So I Google searched orientation, and it originated in the 19th century from the word orient, meaning Eastern Asian countries. Orient is an extremely offensive term for Asian nations. And I Google searched Orient is racist and found this big thing breaking down like old art from Europe, old plays, and how they depicted the Orient and Oriental people. And it's offensive because it was derogatory stereotypes about the meek and pathetic Asians. And so they've replaced a word preference, which doesn't mean choice. It doesn't mean choice at all. And they've chosen now a word rooted in an offensive slur because orientation is derived from Orient. Now here's the best part: the word Orient is just Latin for from the East, whereas Occident is from the West.
Oh.
Right.
And that's where the phrase came from. So even Orient isn't really offensive; it just literally was a Latin phrase meaning from the East.
My sexual occidentalism.
Occidentalism?
So we were having
Occidentation.
some fun the other day pointing out the absurdity and all this media crap on my Twitter feed. And when 88 of Amy Coney Barrett's colleagues from University of Notre Dame wrote a letter saying that she shouldn't be going to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So 88, why 88?
Oh, so weird.
So you know what we did? We're like, come on, 88. This is obviously 14.
I know, I was gonna
This
say.
is obviously a dog whistle, which is exactly what people on the left would say about somebody on the right.
Right.
If they did anything that involved the number 88, anything that involved the number 14, especially if you put them together.
Dude, there was a guy who is one of these researchers against white supremacy, and he tweeted something like, I have 14,880 followers. I need someone to unfollow me right now. Something like that. And I was like, you're insane.
You're clinically insane.
I was tons of people unfollowed him. I'm like, good, unfollow
Good.
the guy.
Seriously.
Oh, too many people.
Too many people. Just one. Just
Hey,
one.
how
Just
do you
one.
feel about
Or-
Amy?
or follow me.
How do you feel about Amy Coney Barrett?
How do I feel about ACB? To tell you the truth,
ACB.
I don't know too much about her, to be honest. I know that she's a working mom that has raised a family and adopted some kids. And frankly, I'm just not a Supreme Court specialist by any means. I will say personally that Obergefell, the gay marriage decision, freed me up to become a Trump voter or a Republican. I'm a strong advocate for gay marriage. I believe gay people should be able to get together and get married just like the rest of us dummies. And if you want to get divorced, get divorced too. But because I'm a civil libertarian, I'm not a libertarian, but people should be able to do whatever they want to do,
Right.
right? More or less. So I believe they should be able to get married. So if her confirmation on the Supreme Court brings that back into question, I'll be very disappointed.
It won't. I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend to be a Supreme Court specialist or a lawyer at all.
Yeah.
But she made reference to something called stare decisis, let the decision stand.
Yeah.
And apparently, as I was told when we did a show we all assumed she was going to be confirmed, the idea is that her position is if it's already been ruled upon, we go from there.
Beautiful.
So we're not going to go back.
Good. And that's what Trump said about it too when he was
Right.
being running. He was like, I consider it settled law.
Yeah.
Which is great, which is why I was able, and then hopefully we'll get some cannabis deregulation on there, and then all of a
pardons
sudden, and then all of a sudden, sort of any reason that I had to be a Democrat would be vaporized at that point. No pun intended.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, let's
moisturism.
let's take some super chats.
Super chats.
If
Call them out.
if you haven't already, you must smash the like button.
Do it for me.
And share the show if you do think it's good. It helps help spread the word and all that. But smash that like button, subscribe, and we got this good question here from Ian Hall. He says, "Gotta ask, WTF is Ian wearing? Is he embracing his internal barbarian princess?"
Yes, first of all.
First of all, yes.
And this is the top of a pajama that I was gifted by an old girlfriend of mine. Thanks, shout out to Amy. Thanks, I love it. And
It's a Starfleet
yes,
captain's
the Starfleet.
uniform.
So the red shirt is the officers on the starship, commanders on the Enterprise.
No, just command.
Any of the command crew.
Yeah.
So you'll see forward gunnery. I don't know who would do it, but Geordi, Captain Picard.
No, Geordi's an engineer.
You're right. Geordi has yellow.
Yeah, and he's
Thanks,
an officer.
Tim.
Bunch of nerds.
I think
Come
Tim
on.
should answer this question. This is a bandana that I got at Burning Man. It was on the ground. I found, and I've carried it around ever since.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, Burning Man's so great. I love how they film Quiznos commercials there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Burning Man went full corporate. Well, maybe not full, but I went in 2008 when it was cool.
Still cool.
I would love to go to Burning Man again.
I don't think they're doing that right now, are they?
Jeez, you're right.
Jeez, I wonder why.
All right, we got some more. Virus Live says the radical left is looking like a comedy skit right about now.
Yeah, but it's not.
Sounds
funny.
about right. So a lot of people are asking. So I'm just gonna for everyone asking, I'm gonna do this in one super chat. They're asking about the SEAL Team 6 CIA whistleblower thing. Have you guys heard about
No.
this? I don't know anything about it either. I've seen some posts about it. Someone claiming that SEAL Team 6 was killed by the Obama administration or something.
The whole team?
But I have no idea what it
Six
is.
is the guys that took out Osama bin Laden, right?
Wasn't that who it
I
was?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta be honest. I don't know what it is. It didn't see it pop up anything right now. DJ Zeno says, Ian, I'm smoking weed right now. Trust me, you're wrong. Love you, bro.
Oh, so it is a crack pipe. Dude, the picture of him when it's hanging out of his mouth, I've never passed out with a pipe in my mouth, so it probably was crack.
But
Yeah.
aren't like when you're smoking weed out of a bowl, a glass bowl, you just put it up to your lips and then you don't put it in your mouth.
No, not really, no.
Yeah, a crack pipe, however,
Oh, you put it in your mouth?
I'm assuming.
Tell us.
I'm assuming it's different.
I don't know
No.
anything
Tell us.
about
I'm
it.
just
Tell
saying
us,
it's
Tim.
different, right?
don't
He's
know.
holding it in his mouth. He's like,
Yeah, it looks like it.
Tuning like a
It's
cigarette.
such a weird picture. Look up a picture of him, by the way, if you can find it. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
weird,
weird.
Don't tweet it.
looking. No.
Stacey Ellis says, anyone else caught messed up on crack in the Army would have gotten a dishonorable discharge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I thought that was what he got from the Navy.
Everyone is saying SEAL Team 6. I
Something big must have
don't know
come
what
out.
about. Someone mentions Kayleigh McEnany's, got shut down. We got a big old super chat.
Oh, snap.
Whoa, here we go. What's this? Peter Bemis says, Tim, please make a watchable video summarizing the media lies that are influencing the election and the sources that debunk them. Your voice is a way, maybe the only way, that liberals who have been tricked by the establishment media can be woken up before the election. The Democrats are about to instill a real 1984, and you can stop it. I think I've probably got like 12 videos about that. About because
Make a
it's because there's no 1-2 hour long documentary. If you want to like shatter the facade or something,
It's not a bad idea, though.
make a playlist or something.
Or a
Yeah.
2-hour documentary. Or playlist. might
Oh,
be
yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Oh, what is this? Did you see the latest Project Veritas video of Instagram censoring his tag?
No, it's always something
No.
with these guys. Jeez.
Interesting.
They hate Project Veritas.
I know they really do.
Oh
though.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're gonna. I shouldn't say anything. I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah. Dun,
I've
dun,
revealed.
dun.
I've revealed too
Is that
much.
too much?
Let it go. Just
Real
let
much.
it go.
I love that.
Here we go. Let's see.
Instagram. Love them.
Balian says, Tim, you should watch the specials Glenn Beck did on Ukraine. He backs everything up that he says with actual State Department documents. It's pretty
Oh,
eye-opening.
wow.
Interesting.
He's pretty thorough. I like him.
Yeah. James Nelson says, Biden went to the Ukraine round time of emails to pressure the Ukraine government to stop buying natural gas from Russia and instead explore their domestic sources. Guess which company is the #1 supplier of Ukrainian natural gas?
I was gonna say that sounds pretty
Burisma?
good. Got
Do you
it.
guys know why one of the likely reasons we got involved in Syria? The Qatar
Pipeline.
the Qatar-Turkey pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Qatar, we wanted a natural gas pipeline to go up into Europe to offset the Gazprom monopoly, so that we could, Russia was jacking up the prices, and so Syria said, our ally Russia doesn't want us to do this, so we won't do it. And then what was going to happen was, I guess, Iran was going to tap into the same natural gas field and then send it through Iraq, through Syria into Europe to double the power of the monopoly. And then conveniently for America, a bunch of revolutionaries just happened to appear in Syria and, the country started crumbling, and then we of course sided against the existing government because we were not allied with them, and that was reported by the Guardian. So I don't like this war stuff they're doing. You know,
it's all about money,
Yep.
power, resources.
a lot more people saying SEAL Team 6.
Spice.
Cassetto says, Tim, if you were to be removed from YouTube, where else would we be able to find you? Where else would you stream? I would probably be down by the stream fishing, hanging out with the dog, and just staring at the sky, kicking back and ignoring everything if that happened.
Wait, there's a dog?
No, it's a
No, there will
cat.
be.
Future
no,
dog.
I'll if I get banned from these platforms, I'm just gonna go get a dog, take my van, go down by the river, and just go fishing.
Yeah, man.
That's it. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and I'll just go fishing. That's all I need. Ian Hall says, to the Navy SEAL, please arrest the idiot across from you for false rank insignia. Who?
He's talking to
about
me.
me.
He's
Oh.
talking to me.
I am not a commander in the Federation.
Oh, no.
This is a costume.
What is it? We all know Ian could never, in no hellish reality, be a Starfleet captain. General T. Poole, seriously, the people have spoken. Replace Soy Judas with a cat high off his face on the nip.
You want to be replaced by
I
Betsy?
mean, it would be
Tim
great.
wanted to read that super chat. He was like, "Yeah, I got
Well, it was
No.
a big super chat.
It's a big one.
Well,
Dude, I
we'll-
serve on the Enterprise with you.
We'll put Betsy on the table and give her some nip and just have her freak out. Her ears turn bright red and her face, and she's
no.
all like, and her eyes go crazy.
It's all twitchy.
And then
Yeah,
she passes
isn't it-
out with a pipe in her mouth.
Isn't it really funny that we give our cats drugs and then laugh about it? We're like giving them
This is
drugs and they're
everything
freaking
humans
out.
do.
They're like tripping in front of us or whatever.
Aw.
I don't know what catnip does to cats, but it makes them freak out for sure. Here we go. Adrienne Curry, Columbus Day was given to Italians as an apology for racism massive lynching. Now the government doesn't care about Italians, so gave the holiday to totally different people. It's
Interesting.
just kidding holiday apology. Oh, wow. Blue Satoshi says, look up In Defense of Columbus on YouTube. Pretty informative vid. Interesting.
Oh,
And then someone says the same thing. Ian, check out In Defense of Columbus and Exaggerated Evil.
wow. What if he's not as bad as I was led to
Yeah,
believe?
you gotta look this video
Propaganda.
up.
I heard he was like a psycho, like a cruel,
I heard good-
horrible,
I
and his
have heard good
brothers
things
just
about
like
him.
were marauders. But I should look into it.
Yeah, man. Check it out.
We have from Trip
right,
Ive
Phil.
says, Tim and company, why aren't we talking about the released video and audio files from CIA whistleblower proving HRC Obama and Biden assassinated SEAL Team 6?
Ah, so that's a whole story.
I didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
I had seen like some posts about it, and I don't know. Didn't.
Wait. Confirmed leak.
That's the first question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. That Obama and Hillary had our own Navy SEAL team assassinated.
That's what they're saying.
I'm gonna need just a little
Yeah, we
bit
need a
more
lot of
evidence.
Well,
on
to
that one.
be fair, then some Google searching is warranted at least.
Yeah,
right?
let me.
That's what I always say
Google
about
this.
everything. I don't care if you tell me the moon is made of cheese. I'll Google search it.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that the bare minimum you can do for any story? Is Google search a moon? It is not made of cheese. Okay, that was ridiculous.
So who
how
wrote
did the
the
milk
books?
get up there?
Who wrote the books? The guy. He said I was there. I was the guy. I was the trigger man. Didn't he write a book?
Which one about the moon?
One
being
of the
made
Navy
cheese?
guys. No.
Yeah, that one.
One of the Navy SEAL guys.
They did
yeah.
write a book. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on Twitter.
Right.
That's weird. Yeah, the guy who killed Osama is on Twitter.
Yeah, he's great. I follow him.
He got kicked off a plane recently.
Sure did.
Wasn't he SEAL Team 6?
Troublemaker.
Why don't
yeah.
we just at him real quick?
I think I
Yeah,
heard.
we
a
should.
bro, we're
Yo,
live.
Is this real?
What's up? Yeah.
I heard a story that they kicked the door in and shot Osama in his bed. Then I heard a story that they disposed of Osama's body at sea, which was not along the terms of what they would have wanted. So it was like an insult. But then I heard they hid that. I heard a couple different
Everything's
different
always
stories
a
so
mess.
The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
he
yeah.
came over with his brothers.
Yeah, that's right. He came over on the. Yeah, I could see it.
Crackbot says
Crackbot.
pacifism is a shifty doctrine under which a man accepts the benefits of the social group without being willing to pay and claims a halo for his dishonesty.
Robert Heinlein.
Interesting.
He wrote Starship
Taylor
Troopers.
Cook says, and John Adams defended the Redcoats who shot colonists in the Boston Massacre to show we are a people of laws demanding respect and
Sure
dignity.
did.
I mentioned that.
I like that
mentioned
story.
that,
Yeah, I
John
was like, I
Adams.
just learned that recently.
That is a bold
Kinda
man.
neat, yeah.
Ian Hall says, hey, Jack, Ian is secretly reciting Boots by Rudyard Kipling. Lydia, make sure you get Jack's reaction. Were you?
No, what was Boots? I've never read it before.
That's Jack's reaction. I don't know
Yeah, I
what kind
have
of
no idea.
deadpan here. I looked that up.
Please whisper it in my ear.
Yeah, I got nothing right
Kipling.
now. I love
Sean-
Kipling.
Sean Carter says, almost my entire town, small, 3,000 people, held a few meetings of the last few weeks about closing the town off in case of and actively preparing for civil war. Crap is getting real. What town is that?
I'm very curious. Sean Carter, please tell us.
Spike Lee said it, and everybody got mad at me because I said Spike Lee said it. I was like, hey guys, Spike Lee said civil war's coming, and they were like, Tim, stop talking about it. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
Don't talk about Spike Lee. Don't talk about Civil War.
Yeah, don't talk about Civil War.
But I think your definition of Civil War is interesting because it's not going to be like 1865.
No, I've been saying that it's fourth and fifth generational warfare for a long time.
There you go.
We could be in it with.
It could be a cyber war.
Exactly.
Already
information.
happening.
I think you said that last time you were on. That
Yeah.
we're kind of in it,
We're in
but we
it
don't
already.
realize we're in an
100%.
information war. I mean, info wars.
So listen, this is the era and time that's called post-Westphalian, right? The Treaty of Westphalia is what kicked off the era of nation states. Now people's loyalties are not towards nation states, but to ideas, causes, and gangs.
corporations, which is an idea.
A gang is a gang.
Definitely a gang.
And that's where people allegiances are today, right? And so those are the tribes that are forming around causes, ideas, and gangs. And we're already all in the midst of it.
Yep. We'll see. We got this one. Brewmaster Monk says Joe Biden can't lead his son away from degeneracy. How is he supposed to lead the country?
I disagree with that. I've known plenty of fine men who have had children who have had drug addiction problems. It is a health issue. It is a public health crisis. I don't judge a man by the way someone is stricken by disease and sort of this really sad state of affairs. Now, did Biden create an environment in which the guy didn't really have to work and he got rich and he got flown around the country and used his influence and whatever? Absolutely. But I'm not going to crap on a guy because one of his kids has got a disease that could kill him.
We got a super chat here from Gonzalo.
Sorry, super chatter.
Gonzalo Arado says from Chile. Question is, have any of you seen a link between the riots happening in the U.S. and the riots happening in Chile? Here it begins October 18th, 19, very well planned. Not that I'm aware of.
have to
Wow.
look it up.
Yeah.
¿Cómo está, po?
It got really
That's
bad
Chilean
in
slang.
Santiago. I was in Chile until 2019. Like I left right before. And
You
then
lived in Chile.
I lived there for like 2 months in
Oh, no
Santiago.
kidding.
We were looking at building a graphene factory to start making it down there because we knew a guy that wanted to invest. But what was it? Ended in 2019. Just really violent Santiago protests kicked off. But I never saw any correlation.
We have this here super chat. Wait, did I just miss it? Oh, here we go. One grilled cheese sandwich says, I believe that someday we can achieve Gene Roddenberry's dream of a unified Earth. It can happen someday in the far future. It cannot be forced on us by those that think they are our betters. Maybe, but I'll tell you this. If you got a group of people that are like, everyone should freely agree to join and have these rights and be free, do you think that will win? Or do you think the 1.4 billion people who are essentially slaves to a massive authoritarian regime who weld their doors shut, who's going to win?
The first people,
Why?
because information can't be stopped.
Maybe what happens is that
Happened today.
when the Chinese
talking
are
about
desperately
right now.
trying to stop the social media in their country, because if people realize what freedom is, they're immediately going to revolt and turn against them. However, when it comes to major natural disasters and war and everything, China just welds people's doors shut and just discards the individual and strengthens the collective. So they could respond to COVID like that.
Tim, you're saying that this super global entity would reflect American values. Yeah,
I'm not saying that. Someone's saying that.
I know, but in our conversation earlier.
Oh, if we had constitutional rights as we know them and American values,
Yeah.
but it was the entire planet,
Okay,
that's
bro.
the Star Trek future.
I know, but bro, like that's what we have here in America, and it's not working now. Why would it work
course.
around the world?
I'm not saying it is.
But this is just a natural part of the evolution of it functioning.
is it?
Maybe we need a Starship Troopers kind of thing, service guarantee citizenship. We talk about that quite a bit.
It's very contentious, apparently.
You're familiar with it, right?
I am familiar, but I'm not an expert on this matter.
Basically, it was just like anybody could demand something to do for the society. It wasn't necessarily military or whatever.
Got
We've
it.
talked about it quite a bit because a lot of people are big fans of Starship. But it was the idea that in order to vote, among other things, you had to prove you were willing to sacrifice for the greater community. You can't just come in and say, I'm going to vote for something ridiculous and then hurt everybody or something,
Got it. Kind of like what we have now here, where you can just vote for something ridiculous.
Well-
You can vote to take away civil rights and affirmative action in California. You can vote on that.
You can vote to make it so people who don't live here can vote.
Right.
Like
Sure
no
can.
no joke.
Yeah.
There are cities where they've enacted laws where non-citizens are allowed to vote.
Yep.
I
on
like
certain
the
affairs.
idea of service, but we'd have to extrapolate service, like
Right.
learning how to make graphene, using lasers, making YouTube videos, exposing your deep secrets. Like
Doing
that's a
something
form of
useful.
service to humanity.
Maybe.
Here we go.
Beam me
Fred-
up.
Fred Crane says, Ian is a scary person. No, I want to be independent, not part of the zombie hive mind.
Would you
Were
think
you-
the Federation of Star Trek is a zombie hive mind? Wait,
No, the Federation is like a liberalist Very
Oh, the Neuralink.
Yeah.
Neuralink is scary, man. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I don't want any of that.
I just see
Yeah.
it as like an unstoppable reality, so that's why I'm kind of coming to terms with it.
Join the Borg, baby.
With humor.
Benjamin Rhodes says, end the war on drugs, legalize, decriminalize, instantaneously defund criminal organizations. It has put money in the pockets of criminals willing to do violent things. Has there been any more destructive action in modern USA history?
It's pretty bad. Civil rights issue, black racism issue, crime, mafia, liberties, personal choice. It's anti-American, the drug war.
Dude, Nixon made it just to stop the civil rights movement, to the Black Panthers and the hippies in the 70s. It's so ridiculous. It's this corrupt guy, president, that resigned, basically, put this into effect. Yeah, we should repeal this stupid thing.
Yeah. Trump needs to just come out and do it.
I wish he would. I wish he would. In part of my research for Democrats are deplorable, I asked one of the questions was, do you think that President Trump should decriminalize marijuana? And it was like 70-30%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here we go. Dave Slattery says, Tim, when will you do a sit down with Ben Shapiro? I was just thinking about that. Could you imagine? Because we both talk so fast. People would be like, how do I slow this down? Like these
It's
guys
easy
are.
to do. Yeah,
It would be like a 5-hour podcast in an hour.
Yeah.
People would listen to it at 1.25 speed, too.
I have done
And it would
that,
just
yeah.
be like
Evolution.
It's like sitting in a chair and seeing like space zoom.
It's true.
It's so many ideas in the marketplace. It's expanding my mind too quickly.
It's blowing
It
up.
would be like in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, when the lady gets the aliens and she's like, I want to know everything, and then she's like, and then she explodes or whatever.
It's too much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
When people listen to podcasts on extra speed,
Yeah.
is it like in the old days when you spit up the record and the pitch of the voice goes up,
Yeah.
or is it?
A little
Yep.
bit, yeah.
Oh, really? The pitch does go up.
Well,
Yeah.
there's ways they can do it now with pitch correcting. So I don't not always.
so
but
the words just come out more quickly.
it'd be
Yes.
really funny. Like, I don't like this one.
Yeah.
I got Jack Murphy here.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it with Tim.
And then you could slow it down. And it sounds like a bunch of really old, rugged men.
Yes.
DC's,
Wait, we don't sound like that.
Well, I certainly don't.
We don't sound like that already.
You do.
Yeah, Jack does.
Yeah. DC says to Jack and Tim, I'm just curious your stance on personal responsibility and accountability and the role it plays in our culture going forward.
Well, personal accountability is sort of the bedrock essence of the values that I hold important, and we need to be as part of our culture and the nation that I live in. So I think it's important, and I wish people would have more of it.
Too many people don't believe in personal responsibility.
Nope.
Like
Amen.
you can be a liberal and be left leaning and agree with like social policy and things like this and like taxes and all that and still believe in personal responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way I was always viewed welfare systems and food benefits was like, we want to make sure we can get you to a point of self-sustainability. We don't want you permanently just stuck here where you're getting money from the taxpayer, and we don't want to just kick you to the curb. So it's all about giving you the tools you need to become responsible for yourself. Teaching people to fish, not just handing out fish.
Yeah, I remember when the welfare to work programs were like brought in, people said they were so racist. And you just, as you asked this question, we talk about personal accountability. I was just remembering being on the streets in DC during the riots, and I remember this one guy just kept yelling into his megaphone over and over and over again. All black suffering is a result of systems of white oppression. Okay, all black suffering,
All of it.
So maybe there is some suffering there that's caused by bad things, but like if your perspective is that there's no personal accountability, then there's really no reason to do anything with your life
Nihilism.
whatsoever. Yeah.
You know what? Hold on. I think we did this before. Can we get a show of hands of how many people want to vote to take all of Jack's money right now?
And give it to whom?
We'll split it amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Ian says yes.
It's
Oh,
three.
snap.
It's three. You
3 to
3 to
1.
1.
Take
So
my done.
Vote back.
give us your wallet. Hand it over.
Oh man.
This is
The
what people.
mugging.
I think this is like
group
there are
thing.
important things you can do for kids to teach them about government taxes, and that's one of them. If you got a couple kids, play this game, or even just like one or two, and you can bring in your wife or your friends or whatever, and then give them something they like. Like maybe they got that new, what's that new Pokemon game that just came out? I don't know. I haven't
Pokemon
played
Go?
Of
Pokemon
course
in
you
20,
do
30
know.
years.
Of course you know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, man.
No. Is it? I don't know. I don't know the name. Is it
Pokemon
Switch?
Go? That's what I
Came out on the
with.
Switch, and
Oh,
it's
I don't know.
like I don't know the name of it. But let's say this kid finally
Gotta get
they
'em
got
all.
their Switch. It's like you bring the kid in and say we're all going to vote on who gets to play the game now. all in favor of taking the game away from, your kid. They're going to be like, what? It's mine. Like, well, we voted.
Yeah.
So it's not fair that only you get to have it. You got to share the wealth because we don't have a Switch. And I read this really funny post that said what you do is you tell your kid you'll give them $10 to mow the lawn or whatever. And then after they do, you pull out 10 singles and go, okay, let's see. So here's your pay. And then I'll take one for Medicaid, one for, the dishes,
snap.
one for this. And your total net pay comes out to,
$4.
$6.73. And they're going to be like, but you said I get $10. Yeah, before taxes.
Right.
Taking the rest.
Yeah. I use Halloween candy as a way to do that.
Yeah.
So for Halloween, not only do I do the dad tax,
Yep.
but then I sort them by colors just to give them a lesson on intersectionality.
I love it.
All the yellow ones over here, all the red ones over here, and do not mix them. Understand?
Right.
But you know what you need to do? This Halloween, you should get a really, really, like a friend of yours who's really big and fat and have him just sit in a chair, just like really, and then be like, well, doesn't he get candy?
He should
And
get
they're
candy.
going to be like, but he didn't go out and trick and treat. But, well, it hurts his knees. So we're going to take, a quarter of your candy, a quarter of your candy, and a quarter of yours, and we're going to give it to him. And just have him just sit there, just looking him in the eyes and eating it.
It's a good lesson. It's a good
love it.
lesson.
I had a friend growing up when I was really little, and his mom made us play with his younger brother, who was, and we hated his younger brother for it. Just didn't, that was another.
Social communism.
Yeah, man.
It's not fair. Let's see. Isaac Hillstrom says, can I plug a Snapchat channel on a maxed out super chat? It's completely irrelevant. What's the max on a super chat? For sure, I guess. I don't know. Trip Ives says, here you go. Search YouTube for breaking. Whistleblower drops hard evidence. Biden, Obama, Hillary executed SEAL Team 6. Audio proof.
Come on.
I think the stories like this.
Okay, so this is actually, I was waiting for a chance to say this. So remember we were talking about Robert O'Neill, the SEAL Team 6 guy who's on Twitter causing trouble on planes, who got kicked off. So apparently he is in on this, or he's talking about this. He goes, very brave men said goodbye to their kids to kill Osama bin Laden. We were given the order by President Obama. It was not a body double that they killed. Thank you, Mr. President. Happy birthday at U.S. Navy. He goes on to say, I know who I killed, homie, every time. And then he later joked.
Wait, you said he was in on it.
So he's talking about it.
So you're saying he's rejecting it?
Yeah, he is rejecting it.
I thought you were saying that he was saying it's happening.
Yeah,
He's
I
on it.
misspoke.
He's on top of
Yeah,
it.
he's speaking about it. So we were talking about him earlier. And
so he's
tweeting
denying
about
it.
it directly. He's 100% saying, shoot, I just found out that I killed Osama bin Johnson. Drinks are on me, I guess. And added, I know who I killed, homie, every time. So this has happened before. And he's like, no, this is not what happened.
Right.
So
Right.
Let's see. Doop. Red Dragon says, white pill for Lydia. That Dem in Weld County is only able to hold a position in the county party because there are basically no Dems in Weld.
that is really interesting.
That's interesting, yeah.
And he's their voice, huh? He is who is speaking out in Weld County, in this farming county.
That's crazy.
I still don't like that at all.
I wonder if James even recognized that.
I don't
Veritas realized that, like, it's kind of crazy that this small town bumpkinville, of
Really
all the
curious.
Democrats they got a fringe, crazy, violent leftist.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I don't know. Maybe he was the only one who had passion.
Let's
Yeah.
not be redundant now.
Polaris Pixis says, I tend to think of the right along the lines of the clans of Scotland. We can't ever seem to unite. We need to come together and get organized. Also, Crypt Keeper Pelosi needs to retire. Can't stand her.
By the way,
Seriously.
we won the election 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Did you see Nancy Pelosi flipping out at Wolf Blitzer?
I did.
That was hilarious.
I just skipped through it.
Wolf is like, your colleagues are calling for you to approve the stimulus because children are going hungry. And she's like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. That
We've
says,
been elected to represent these people. You don't know.
And she was smiling.
Oh my gosh.
Smiling.
It is Halloween
Crypt
time.
Keeper.
My goodness.
That proved to me, or I should say, in my opinion, seeing that is evidence that she hates Trump more than she cares about anybody else.
Yep.
Yes.
She just wants, she would make every American suffer crying in the streets because she hates Trump. That is lunacy.
You know, regarding the clans of Scotland not being able to unify and the right not being able to, it's kind of like sometimes there's this argument about good versus evil, and evil seems to have the upper hand in the fight because evil is they'll force everything to come together to make their evil empire, whereas the good people are individualists. They don't force each other to do these things.
Right.
So it's more challenging for them to find a reason to unify, if not
Well, it's
against.
the same reason why you always get a bunch of psychos as president.
I think the easiest way to put it is
Who else would be president but a psycho?
Seriously.
the modern left has no empathy. They claim to be the arbiters of it and the ones bringing it to all of the poor people who just want health care. But the reality is they don't know, they don't understand how you feel. They don't care how you feel.
want
Shut
power.
your mouth. Exactly. I'm right. I know what's best for you. And then you ask them a simple question about anything outside of their worldview, and they're going to be like, huh?
Dude, you see those videos where they're like, "Stop graffitiing my house." They're like, "I'm doing this for you," and they're like,
Yep.
The
Yep.
white ladies. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
We're doing this
You could
for you.
take any jargon from any subculture and be like, oh, okay, if you're going to help me, then here's my job. Here's what I do. And they're going to be like, I don't know what that is. Shut up.
Right.
Like all I know is we should have the government pay for healthcare, and it's like the government doesn't just pay. I was actually talking to somebody about
Right,
universal healthcare, and I said like the big challenge is, look, first of all, I'd love a functioning universal healthcare system. Like if we could implement it, if we could. The problem is, for one, 20% of our economy is built upon the infrastructure of healthcare. You can't just flick a switch. Even Bernie Sanders said it's like 2 to 4 million jobs or something would be gone overnight if we did this. So let's figure out a way to get to, improving our healthcare system for sure. But I was actually told by one of these lefties, deficit spending. That's it. The government just prints the money whenever they need to pay. And I'm like,
Why didn't I
do you
think
know
of
what
that?
Venezuela, do you know what that is? Have you heard that word before?
No.
Like there's a bunch of countries that tried this.
Modern monetary theory, MMT. It's like this new thing. I've been hearing about it. I'm trained in economics. It's a wild thing where you can just print as much money as you want, run as many deficits as you want.
And it works, hey?
And it works, hey?
Yeah,
That's what they
yeah,
say.
yeah.
They say, let's try it.
And then you know what you
This
do to
time.
limit the money supply?
Tax people.
Yeah. Or you just make sure the rich people get it.
Oh, that works.
That's the funniest thing. I hear all these people say, like, how is it that there are billionaires and people are starving? They're hoarding all this money. And I was like, you can't eat money, dude. Taking their money away won't bring food to an individual. And not only that, we don't really have a big starvation problem in this
No,
country.
we have a national caloric surplus.
we have
do.
fat homeless people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not the problem.
No, we have fat homeless people with cell phones. Still not the problem.
if you eat a lot of crap, you're still hungry. That's the problem. They're like, they're going hungry. It's like, yeah, because you ate fat.
You eat all
and
the
It's
bad
it's too
stuff.
expensive to eat healthy.
If you
I'm
do it
like,
wrong.
It's
dude,
so
do you know how
easy.
cheap
I
fruits
just made
and
like a
vegetables are?
$3 stew downstairs. It's a giant pot of sweet potato
fantastic.
That's
amazing.
crazy. I remember when I was like flat broke, I couldn't eat at restaurants and get burgers. I was like, oh man, I got to buy vegetables and fruits again.
Oh, man.
Because it was cheaper. Then you go to the fast food restaurant and you want that big burger meal, and I'm like, for that much money, I can get a bunch of tomatoes, oranges, some
Potatoes.
wraps, even some sauce to put on
Gotta
it.
know how to make it.
We have a
right.
caloric surplus. It's not a hunger issue in America. And anyway, it's a
Use
distribution issue.
And then the other thing they bring up is like housing. They're like, how come we have all these empty buildings and we can't just put people in them? And I'm like, dude, do you know what it takes to like maintain a property? Could you
annoying.
imagine like if we took a bunch of homeless people who didn't have jobs and just put them in houses? Like what would happen to those houses and those people? They get hurt. The buildings would end up just crumbling. Fires maybe. Like what people don't realize about homelessness, because I actually worked for a network of homeless shelters, is that it's typically a mental illness problem.
Definitely.
It's not an economic thing. It's that people can't function. And I mean that with all due respect, because we try desperately to help some of these people, and you bring them to a shelter, you give them what they need to make sure they're clean, healthy, safe, and there's no job for them.
No.
There's like, so what do? It's a serious problem. You can't just put them in a house and walk away. Maybe like group housing, but that's literally what we did. We had a homeless shelter. So we're actively trying to solve that problem. People think you can just take a person, put them in a house, and problem solved. That's sweeping under the rug as far as I'm concerned.
The metaphor of people being like cells in the human body, and like we're all kind of like a hive of intercommunicating things, is like some cells are programmed to kill themselves. They're called apoptosis.
Apoptosis, yeah.
Apoptosis is a natural phenomenon of reality where certain cells are like, I'm no longer needed. I will destroy myself. And I wonder if humans do that too. If some people are just built to just be destroyed. Like they're just no longer serving society, so they go into this self-deprecating spiral.
Well, at the very least, you're never going to bat 1,000. So even if you're doing very well, there's going to be
You ever hear about blue zones?
blue zones.
Blue zones.
Tell me about blue zones.
Blue zone. I watched a documentary about blue zones. They're areas of the world where people live over 100 years. So it's like they called them, and they try to figure out what they shared in common. One of the most important things was purpose.
Yes.
They said in the documentary, so fact check this stuff, because I was watching this documentary on Amazon or something, and it said that the highest, like the most likely age of death is just after retirement. People retire, they die, they have no purpose anymore. They go to this blue zone and they see this guy, and he's like 97, and he's chopping lumber,
Doing stuff.
and they asked him like, why are you, a 97-year-old, cutting wood? Shouldn't someone else do it? And he goes, who would do it? And they're like, well, certainly someone younger. He's like, no, I have to do it. I'm the one who cut. I have to wake up and make sure we have the lumber to.
People need me.
Like, oh wow. Yeah, he couldn't stop. He's like, people need me to live.
Purpose and meaning are two of the most or purpose and community are two of the most powerful forces in the world today. People who are a part of a community are clinically proven happier, healthier, and wealthier. So if you can have purpose and you can have community, what I've seen studies when it comes to addiction, they take a rat, they put him in a cage by himself, and they give him unlimited cocaine. He takes the cocaine until he dies.
Yep.
You put a rat in a community of rats, you put the same amount of unlimited cocaine, and guess what? None of the rats die. Because they have community.
Interesting.
They have people. And that is why in Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the fundamental components of the whole thing is building community.
Yeah.
Because community gives you a reason to live.
So we got the super chat from Liam Baker. He says, we need some representation in fiction. Almost everything is left-leaning. So I sent you guys my novel. It's called Stay Tuned. I hope Jack checks it out. Lydia will dig it. It will make Tim say nightmarish dystopia and reality is fractured.
Very cool.
Oh, wait. Is this the guy that sent me the tweet? I think I saw it. Stay tuned.
Oh,
All right.
super cool.
I'll check it out then.
Yeah,
Guy,
man.
if that is you, good job, dude. You broke through the din. You were able to get our attention.
Got
And there
his
you go.
Point
There it is.
across.
Boom.
Love it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone, as per usual, a little bit over,
Yeah,
but
okay.
just enough to make up for that super chat section. So thank you all so much for hanging out. Jack.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I heard you got a book.
I have a book.
Whoa.
It's called, and no one's ever heard of it. It's brand new. It just came out
Oh,
today.
snap.
No.
No. Democrats is deplorable. Why 9 million Obama voters ditched the Democrats and embraced Donald Trump. Tells the story of 2016 and the story of 2020. Get it on Amazon. Check me out, jackmurphylive.com, on Twitter at Jack Murphy Live. And by the way, we're on YouTube. Check me out, Jack Murphy Live. Got a show tomorrow, 11 a.m. Thank you. Appreciate
cool.
that.
And smash the like button.
Yes.
Of course, you can follow me on
Here and
Twitter. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Parler at Timcast. You can check out my YouTube channels, youtube.com/Timcast and /Timcast News, because I got way too many channels. And we do the show Monday through Friday live at 8 p.m. So definitely come back, hang out tomorrow. I think we might have to move tomorrow because we've got competing town halls. Like, what are we supposed to do? We got Trump and Biden at the same time on two different networks.
Yikes.
I think we should just do the show.
I think so, too.
You probably do
but-
better than Biden.
We'll
for sure.
see.
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be.
We got to think about it.
I think the ratings for this might be bigger than a debate because you've got two different channels.
Maybe so.
Or maybe less because who wants to listen to what Biden has to say?
Seriously.
Not me.
No,
Yeah.
not it.
Yeah. Speaking of Biden and Trump, November 3rd election, we're going to do a nice show that night, right? Election
That
night.
is correct.
Oh, we're
yeah.
gonna do something special for election night where we're basically gonna like turn the cameras wide shots for the room, and we're gonna have like a table set up with snacks, and we're just gonna have a bunch of people saying a bunch of silly things,
Watch the news roll in.
It's going to be
and
fun.
it's gonna be hilarious all night long.
I'll be here.
And when look, the results aren't coming on election night.
We got to call it.
Yes, they are.
at a
But there's
certain point.
people like I'm hearing it from the left and the right. Biden's going to landslide so hard on election night, it's over. And people
What?
people are saying Trump's going to landslide so hard.
Biden
Yeah, but you're wrong
landslide?
because Biden's up by like 16 points, and it's like, no, that's not true because Trump's got secret voters. And I'm like, go vote, go vote early, go vote in person.
What do they say in Chicago?
Vote early, vote often.
There you go.
That
Did
one,
Did you,
yeah.
did you hear about
Yeah.
the people who were microwaving their ballots
I had not heard about
to
that.
disinfect them, and they were also wiping them down with like Purell and smearing them and just destroying them. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Don't forget you can follow Captain Crossland over here.
There
Thank
we
you, number
go.
one.
Ian
Follow me
Crossland.
anywhere and everywhere on the internet at Ian Crossland.
Engage.
Engage.
Yes. Engage. And of course, you can follow Sour Patch Lids. Who's
That's
like
correct.
chilling over here.
LYDS. I'm chilling in the corner.
Get her.
As
Sour
per
Patch
usual.
LYDS.
Correct.
Otherwise, no one would know what it was. So anyway, yes, smash that like button on your way out. Thanks so much for hanging out. We're going to be back probably tomorrow, but we'll see because I take the debate seriously. I want to watch, and we can't do both at the same time. And it creates like a weird podcast, but we'll see what happens.
We'll figure it out.
So anyway, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all in the next show. And I'll definitely post if something changes. So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. Bye, guys.
Adios.
Thank you.